Bread, please. Please give some wheat for my mom's store. The child, who had been watching their mother's desperate pleas up close, wanted to help her too and appealed to their grandmother, who was working in the field. It was the grandmother's actions after that which led to our meeting. My name is Damien. My family owns vast wheat fields that stretch as far as the eye can see, and we've been wheat farmers for generations. My dad reluctantly took over the farm and told me to choose my own path and pursue what I wanted. A mix of guilt and relief wrestled in my heart. As a child, I hated the bugs in the soil and swore I would never become a farmer. But watching my grandmother and parents grow older while tirelessly tending the wheat made me wonder if I could just ignore the family business. Still, I leaned on my dad's words, left home to attend college, and started living alone an hour and a half away by car. After graduation, I stayed there and became an office worker. Farming does not allow for long breaks. Wheat farming is often thought of as planting and harvesting, but the critical steps, soil preparation, seedling care, weeding, and water management, require a year-round effort to produce quality wheat. As a result, I have few memories of summer vacations or long holidays. Almost none, actually. That's why, when my friends, whose fathers were office workers or government employees, shared stories about their trips, it was hard for me. So once I became a college student and started living alone, I made the most of long breaks and holidays by traveling as much as I could. I worked hard at part-time jobs to fund those adventures. That's how I became an office worker without ever helping out at the family farm. During long holidays, I'd visit home and feel a bit of a sense of duty to help out, fumbling with tasks I wasn't used to. But before long, my mom would tell me to relax since I was home, making me feel like more of a hindrance than a help. I became the only son who could only vaguely watch the backs of my parents and grandmother as they worked so hard. I'm sure the neighbors think of me as the unreliable son or worry about the large farm going to waste. But it's not like my relationship with my parents is bad. They supported me when I decided to become an office worker. When I left home, they were certain I wouldn't come back. And yet, I never explicitly said I didn't want to take over the farm. Deep down, I always thought I'd have to carry it on. Still, I clung to the hope that my parents would always be healthy enough to run the farm themselves. I knew that was an illusion, but I continued avoiding the issue, living solely for myself. Work was going well, I earned a promotion, and had a team under me. I wasn't without opportunities to meet someone, but I found spending all my time on myself too enticing to seriously consider marriage. 15 years into my career, I might become the youngest department manager in the company. Such rumors were going around. Amid my busy yet fulfilling days, I received a panicked call from Mom. "Damien, your dad." When I picked up the phone, that was all Mom managed to say before breaking into sobs. "Mom, what happened? What's going on with Dad?" Feeling a wave of anxiety from her tone, I told her I'd head to the family house right away and ended the call. I wrapped up work, took the afternoon off, and hurriedly drove back home. When I arrived, neither of my parents were there, only Grandma was home, keeping watch. "Grandma, did something happen to Dad?" I called out loudly as soon as I stepped into the house. But it seemed Grandma didn't hear me. She didn't even turn around, completely engrossed in the TV. "Grandma." As I tried calling out again, my phone rang at that very moment. "Hello, Mom." This time, it was Mom on the line, sounding calm now. As soon as I answered, she asked me to come to the local hospital. Apparently, Dad had been injured. The word hospital immediately sent a jolt through me. and I sped off toward the nearby clinic. At the reception desk, I gave Dad's name and was directed to his room. My footsteps echoed as I rushed down the hall to his bedside. Dad. The room had 6 beds, and Dad was lying on the one by the window, furthest in. "Damien, don't shout like that. It's embarrassing." Dad said this while looking at me, a bit red-faced, feeling the stares of the other patients in the room. I gave a brief greeting to them before walking over to Dad's side. "Dad, what's this about an injury?" Seeing the alarm on my face, Dad muttered to Mom under his breath that I was overreacting. "I'm sorry, Damien. Dad fell off the tractor and hurt his back pretty badly. The ambulance brought him here, and I just couldn't shake my anxiety. I get so worked up," Mom explained, looking a little sheepish. "Damien probably misunderstood because you called him crying," Dad said. Hearing this, Mom apologized repeatedly. It turned out that today was just for observation and tests, and Dad would be discharged by tomorrow evening. Relieved to my core, I ran a hand through my hair. Then, Grandma came to mind. When I got home earlier, I called out to Grandma, but she didn't respond or say anything. Mom nodded and replied, "Grandma's hearing has gotten worse lately. She used to be so active, always working in the fields. Now, she mostly just sits and watches TV absent-mindedly." Mom wore a slightly troubled expression as she spoke. To me, Grandma had always been a picture of energy, tending to the fields tirelessly. Now in her 90s, it was a wonder she had stayed so active for so long. Yet, seeing her staring blankly at the TV made me feel a pang of sadness. Is it really okay for her to be left home alone? I asked Mom, worried. "She's usually fine, but every now and then, she starts saying things that don't make much sense." Dad, who had been listening, gently urged us to head back home, clearly concerned about Grandma. As I drove, it wasn't long before I heard Mom's soft snores from the passenger seat. Surely, she must have fallen asleep feeling safe. As I stopped at a red light, I glanced at Mom's peaceful face and remembered Dad's expression when I left the hospital. For the first time, they seemed so much older to me. Well, it's only natural, considering I'm already 37 years old. My parents had spent their entire lives working tirelessly on the farm, never complaining or grumbling about the daily grind. As their faces crossed my mind, an old, long-forgotten issue about who would take over the family farm crept into my thoughts. Driving down the familiar road home, I found myself contemplating what lay ahead. When we finally arrived, the sound of the engine shutting off woke Mom. "You should take a shower and get some rest early tonight," I said, and she nodded silently. "Stephanie, I'm home." Hearing her voice, Grandma peeked out from the kitchen. "How is he?" Her voice carried concern for Dad, but she also looked surprised to see me. "Oh, Damien, is that you? Did you come back after hearing about your dad?" "Thank you, sweetie. Dinner's almost ready." Grandma turned to head back into the kitchen. "Mom, why don't you go ahead and shower? I'll help Grandma in the kitchen." Grandma smiled and showed me the pot she was stirring. "Tonight's dinner is your favorite." By the following evening, Dad was discharged from the hospital. Thankfully, it was just a hard hit to his back, no fractures, no cracks. He was told to take it easy for a while, and that was it. Since it was the weekend, I picked him up from the hospital and brought him back home. That night, I thought about heading back to my place, but Dad told me he had something to talk about, so I decided to stay another night at the family house. "What is it?" After dinner, a shower, and some TV, I asked him as he relaxed on the couch. Yes, that's right." He hesitated, and Mom came over to sit beside him. The three of us faced each other. "Damien, I've decided it's time for me to step away from this work. Dad said he was thinking about either selling the farmland or leasing it out. It seemed his decision to quit had already been made. Wait a minute. What about the new wheat variety you worked so hard on? You said things were finally going well. Ever since my grandfather's time, Dad had been committed to developing a new wheat variety that could become the pride of our region. Only recently had it started gaining recognition, with sales picking up steadily. But despite the success, more and more farmers were giving up, and Dad felt it was becoming too difficult for him and Mom to manage the vast fields alone. I'm planning to make the upcoming contest my last. My body just doesn't respond like it used to. Falling off the tractor was a wake-up call. When I was younger, I would have never made a mistake like that, he said, his face showing deep disappointment. Is that really okay with you? Just like that, you're going to give up everything our family has passed down for generations. Why? Why won't you trust me, your eldest son, to help you out? The words spilled out of my mouth before I realized it, leaving my parents stunned. And to be honest, I was stunned myself. It hit me then I wanted Dad to rely on me. Damien. At 37, I felt a little pathetic, saying things that sounded so childish, but deep down, I wanted to be relied on by Dad and carry on the legacy of this land passed down by our ancestors. That feeling lingered somewhere within me. Dad, I was so happy when you told me to follow my dreams. But as the eldest son of this family, I want to do something for this family too. If you're ready to step back, then it's my turn to protect this place. When I said that, both Dad and Mom looked at me, their eyes brimming with tears. Damien, are you sure about this? What about your job? You've been promoted, and I thought you were on track to become a manager soon. I waved my right hand dismissively. It's fine, it's fine. The company will manage just fine without me as a manager, but Dad and Mom need me to step up. Thank you for letting me live so freely until now. From here on, I'll take responsibility for this family. I declared it firmly in front of my parents. After that, I submitted my resignation to the company, left my one-bedroom apartment, and moved back home. From then on, my days were filled with learning the ropes from Dad and collapsing into bed, utterly exhausted, at night. Even though it was a family business, there was so much to learn, and it all felt so new. Working hard made meals taste even better, but every now and then, as I neared 40, a feeling of loneliness crept in, wondering if I'd spend the rest of my life here without meeting anyone. That feeling, however, was wiped away when we received the results of the wheat competition. The new wheat variety that Dad had poured his heart into was ranked A grade. After that, we saw a surge of interest from professionals in the food industry, eager to form partnerships. But Dad chose not to sign any contracts and continued selling to local wheat distributors. Why not sign a deal? That shop earlier was a pretty big name, wasn't it? When I asked, Dad replied, "It's a generous offer, but I just don't have the energy for it anymore. And seeing this new variety gain recognition is enough for me." He said this with a weary but genuine smile. Dad, who never sought luxury or acted boastful despite the praise he received, just continued his quiet work as a farmer. I'm sure he had other dreams he wanted to chase, but he never complained, never uttered a word of regret, and worked tirelessly every single day. What a waste. That's how I felt. One day, amidst our unchanged routine, Grandma came home with a small boy I'd never seen before. "Stephanie, who is that boy?" Mom looked surprised, staring at the boy holding Grandma's hand. Since I don't have kids, I couldn't guess a boy's age. Mom quickly turned to the child and asked, Hi, sweetheart. Where's your mom? Can you tell me your name? How old are you? Mom, suspecting Grandma had done something outrageous, fired off questions at the child. Startled by Mom's rapid questioning, the boy hid behind Grandma, showing only his hand. He held up 4 fingers, signaling he was 4 years old. In a shy, soft voice, he said his name, Cody. Then, he looked down. So, your name is Cody. Where is your mom? But Cody said nothing. Then, Mom looked at Grandma. He was playing alone just over there. When I called out to him, he said he was looking for some wheat. I told him we had plenty at home. Then he said he'd help out in exchange for some wheat. Grandma noticed Mom's troubled expression and seemed to speak with a guilty tone. Stephanie. Mom sighed, clearly struggling. Grandma must have thought she was doing a good deed by bringing the child, but it was obvious that Mom, as a parent, was deeply worried. If Damien were married, he'd probably have a kid around this age. Right? Wait, is Damien married? Could this be Damien's child? Grandma, lost in her own assumptions, looked overwhelmed and confused. Suddenly, Grandma became visibly restless. At that moment, a woman's voice called out, almost screaming, "Cody!" Standing around Cody in the front yard, we all froze, startled by the voice. That's Mom's voice. Mom, I'm over here, Cody shouted, waving his arms wildly so his mom could find him. Cody. The woman rushed over, kneeling down to hug Cody tightly. Cody, you can't just wander off like that. Her face showed anger, but relief was written all over her expression. I'm sorry. Grandma said she had lots of wheat, so I thought I could help and get some. Cody's eyes brimmed with tears as he tried to explain desperately. Cody, I see. You were trying so hard to help me. I'm so sorry. Forcing a tired smile, the woman hugged Cody even tighter. Grandma brought Cody here without asking, and I'm truly sorry for the trouble. Seeing how deeply worried the woman was, I offered a heartfelt apology. Grandma, watching this, I'm so sorry, I truly am. Please forgive me. Also apologized repeatedly to the young mom. Grandma, clearly elderly, stood there remorsefully, while the woman said nothing, simply observing her. Sweat glistened on her lightly made-up forehead. She must have searched everywhere for her child. Frantic, her dry lips and flushed cheeks painted a vivid picture of her panic. Even standing nearby, you could feel just how deeply worried she must have been. I sincerely apologize. She didn't mean any harm. Please forgive us. I knew words wouldn't truly fix this situation. Still, we kept apologizing, feeling it was the best thing we could do. But the woman didn't say anything in response. Concerned, I looked at her and noticed her face had gone pale. She seemed unsteady on her feet. Are you all right? When I asked, the woman suddenly leaned into me, unable to keep herself upright. Sorry, I just felt dizzy all of a sudden. She tried to steady herself, but her body seemed to lack strength. Worried, I carried her inside the house. Cody, looking anxious, followed closely, saying, Mom, are you okay? I laid the woman down on the sofa and asked her softly. The woman tried to sit up, but Mom and Grandma stopped her and handed her a glass of water. She looked apologetic as she accepted the water with a quiet thank you. Just then, Cody came over to her holding a juice box. Mom, Grandma gave me this juice. It was a simple paper carton of juice. Cody hadn't even pierced it with a straw yet, waiting for Mom's permission before drinking it. At that moment, Cody's stomach growled audibly. Hearing that, the woman gently said to him, Hold on a second, okay. Grandma walked in carrying a plate piled high with sandwiches. We've got plenty of wheat here. How about some sandwiches? The large platter was brimming with sandwiches. Cody's face lit up with a big smile. "Yes," he exclaimed, reaching for a sandwich. The woman shouted, "Cody!" But by then, he was already clutching sandwiches in both hands. "Go ahead and eat up, dear. You need your strength. Our wheat is the best in the region," Grandma said, placing a sandwich in front of the woman. She hesitated for a moment, then slowly took a bite. "Delicious. So good," she spoke softly, then continued eating in silence, savoring each bite. Cody also ate to his heart's content, finally looking a little more relaxed. "Bathroom," he said, tugging on the woman's hand. "I'll show you where it is," I offered, motioning for him to follow. Cody quietly followed behind me. After finishing in the bathroom, Cody approached me with curiosity. "How do you make wheat?" When he asked, I explained what Dad had taught me about growing it, but it seemed too complicated for Cody, who looked at me with wide, bewildered eyes as I spoke. "When you get home, you can tell your dad about it." Cody's expression fell slightly. "I don't have a dad." I didn't know how to respond to that. Just then, Mom called out to us. "Damien, Cody's mom wants to talk to you." My heart suddenly began to race as I followed her back to the living room. The woman sat up on the sofa, looked directly at me. "Would you consider working with me?" and said abruptly, "I'm sorry for the late introduction. My name is Taylor, and I run a bakery." She handed me a business card as she spoke. "I want to make bread using your wheat." As she pleaded, Cody clung to her side, mimicking her words with his own earnest little pleas. "Wait a moment, please," I said, trying to pause the conversation. Just then, Dad walked in and froze, startled by the sight of the unfamiliar mother and child. "And you are?" Before I could answer, Grandma spoke up loudly. "She runs a bakery." Grandma's voice trailed off as Mom leaned in to whisper something to Dad. Hearing her, Dad's eyes widened in surprise. Looking at Taylor and Cody, Dad bowed his head slightly and said sincerely, "I'm sorry if my mom caused you any trouble." Taylor shook her head lightly, then handed Dad a business card as well. "I run a bakery. My name is Taylor. Please, would you consider working with me?" Her expression was serious, her plea directed now at Dad. "I'm sorry, but if this is a sales pitch, we're not interested. Our family doesn't engage in such things." Dad clearly rejected her. Taylor, visibly taken aback, was left speechless. She simply took Cody's hand, politely greeted us, and left the house. Most people would have ended it there, but she was not like most people. Her determination was something to be admired. From that day on, she started visiting us nearly every week. It turned out that she was the owner of a bakery in a nearby town. As Cody had mentioned, she lost her husband before he was born and worked tirelessly to raise her child alone. The journey wasn't easy, but she made up her mind to push through. She experimented with unique bread fillings, used social media to attract customers, and even studied wheat extensively. Thanks to her efforts, word of mouth spread, and she was able to open her own store. Eventually, she secured a deal with a wheat farmer, making freshly sourced, high-quality wheat her bakery's signature feature. However, the farmer faced devastating natural disasters like floods and extreme heat, leading to reduced supply. Aging also forced him to retire, further impacting her bakery's operations. Desperate to maintain her unique selling point, she searched for a new wheat supplier, but struggled to find one that met her standards. One day, thanks to our grandma bringing Cody to our house, she discovered our farm. The color, texture, sweetness, and elasticity of our wheat surpassed her expectations and completely won her over. "I absolutely must use this wheat," Despite Dad's repeated refusals, she kept visiting. Cody and I have since become close friends. Whenever I'm scared of bugs, Cody, who loves them, quickly comes to my rescue. Taylor, in her attempts to secure the deal, even helps us during our busiest seasons. Grandma has started to mistakenly assume that Taylor and I were a couple. Every time Taylor visits, Grandma proudly boasts about how it was all thanks to her bringing Cody here that we were connected. Taylor listens to Grandma's stories without any hint of displeasure, making Grandma beam with happiness. At first, she came dressed in business attire, but now Taylor visits in casual clothes and blends seamlessly into our household. With her big eyes and high nose, she looks striking even without makeup. I often find myself thinking she must be quite popular. Her long hair is tied in a high ponytail, her hands are adorned with nail polish or jewelry, and she exudes a simplicity that speaks volumes about her character. It's clear how much effort she has put into protecting and raising Cody on her own. Lately, I can't help but wonder if her interest in me might extend beyond business. I've caught myself dreaming of a future where we might truly become a couple. This place is truly beautiful, and the air feels so fresh. During a lunch break, while Cody napped after playing too much, I found myself alone with Taylor, and we finally had a chance to talk one-on-one. This is a rural place with nothing much to offer, I said that while gazing at the endless fields and farmlands. It's thanks to Stephanie bringing Cody here. That's how I got to meet you, she said, her cheeks turning red. Seeing her like that, I must have been blushing just as much. Oh no, what am I even saying? She laughed shyly, but I took her hands in mine, looking at her seriously. I also look forward to you coming here every week, Taylor. So, please be my wife. The words of a proposal slipped out of my mouth. Wait, wife? Taylor asked back, and I suddenly felt a wave of embarrassment as I realized what I had just said. I'm sorry, that must have been too sudden. Right? Taylor silently shook her head. I'm happy. I've pictured moments like this so many times whenever I've come here, she said, holding my hands tightly in return. Even though it's a 2-hour drive, she's been coming here diligently, even helping out with our work. Gradually, Dad's feelings softened toward her. One day, Dad approached Taylor. Taylor, thank you for always helping us out. By the way, how's the bakery you mentioned? Is it doing okay? He asked, and she replied with a slightly sad expression. The bakery's main selling point was wheat from a contracted farmer. So once the wheat runs out, I'm thinking of closing the shop, she said, looking down. Do you really like our wheat that much? Dad asked, and Taylor lifted her face, smiling brightly. Yes, I love it. It's clear that the Miller family pours their heart into growing it. Dad looked pleased and told her, would you like to use our wheat for your shop? It was at this moment that I learned of Dad's true thoughts. The new wheat variety doesn't produce a large yield right now. For health concerns, the planting area has been significantly reduced. Moreover, I had just started farming, and Dad was a bit worried I might give up along the way. He didn't want to risk a contract that might inconvenience Taylor. However, seeing me work on preparing the old farmland for use, Dad grew confident that we could increase production from next year, and his worries eased. Seeing Damien's recent efforts, I believe we can ensure a stable supply, he said with a smile, nodding toward us. Knowing Dad's thoughts made my eyes well up. Beside me, Taylor was shedding tears of joy. After that, Taylor entrusted her bakery to her employees and moved here, taking on a management role in the background. Yes, we got married. Taylor revamped the bakery's website, featuring our family photos, mine, my parents, and grandma's, as the contracted wheat farmers. She uploaded pictures of us growing and shipping wheat, along with her making bread. The website attracted not only locals interested in the new wheat variety, but also tourists from abroad who came to try it. When someone posted about it on social media, more people came after seeing it. In this situation, Taylor and I have been discussing starting a farming experience program to spread awareness about our work as wheat farmers. Cody has also started attending the elementary school I went to as a child. As soon as he gets home, he dashes straight to the fields and helps out, getting completely covered in mud. "Dad, look," Cody said, holding a tiny frog in the palm of his hand and bringing it right up to my face. "Wow," I murmured, plopping down onto the muddy field myself. And soon enough, both of us were completely filthy. "What on earth are you two doing?" Taylor's loud exclamation echoed, making both my parents and Grandma burst into laughter. Now, as the Miller family, Taylor sandwiches are made exclusively for us to enjoy together as a family.
Karen, is lunch ready yet? I'm getting hungry. Really? It's only 11 a.m. Marie, you got up late this morning, and we had a late breakfast, so I thought a later lunch would be better. Ugh, I don't even remember eating. Maybe this is a sign of good health. Louis is hungry too, you know. Is that so? All right, I'll start preparing something now. I wish you'd do these things without being told. You really are inconsiderate. And clean our room already. It's been a week and the dust is piling up. Marie, the mother-in-law, takes it for granted to boss around her daughter-in-law. One would think that if she's so healthy, she could do her own cleaning and cooking. I can't understand why she stopped doing things she likely did herself before I came into the picture. I'm Karen Miller, a 30-year-old dual-income homemaker. I'm still working at the foreign company I joined before getting married. There are late hours, but hardly any weekend work, so I should be able to relax on Saturdays and Sundays. But from early morning to late night, I'm kept busy by my in-laws with household chores and errands. My husband doesn't help at all, even though I'm slaving away for his parents, Marie and Louis. I wasn't particular about living together or separately, so when my husband suggested living with his parents after we got married, I didn't resist. But lately, I've been wondering if it was a mistake. Living at home means no rent. My husband said so. Huh? But I thought to myself, of course, I never thought of living for free. But I did think it would be cheaper than renting elsewhere. So, we pay for utilities as a sort of rent. We split the food expenses with the in-laws, but since Louis and Marie, who are retired and at home all day, eat a lot for their age, it feels like we're paying more. Still, it's cheaper than renting an apartment. And since I was continuing to work after marriage, having the in-laws around seemed reassuring. I thought it would be easier if we shared the housework. When I work late, my husband has already finished dinner with his parents. It's easier than coming home late and having to cook, but there's never anything left for me. We both work, so I thought it was only fair that whoever can do the housework does it. Before we got married, my husband said the same thing. He said, "Housework is a piece of cake. Leave it to me." So I thought he must have been doing various chores up until now. But it turns out, since getting married, he hasn't done a thing. Laundry, cleaning, tidying up, Marie had been doing it all. He won't even make instant food for himself. So, even if I'm working late and my husband comes home early, there's no way he'll prepare dinner. I should be grateful Marie is there, otherwise, I'd have to cook when I get back. But it's disheartening that my husband doesn't say a word, even when my portion isn't prepared. And he never lifts a finger to clean up. The dirty dishes remain on the table, and the used pots and utensils are left in the kitchen. I end up cleaning up after meals I didn't even eat. Coming home tired from work and then dealing with this is quite exhausting. My husband, having skipped dinner preparation, acts as if he's had it easy, which just adds to my frustration. In this house, everyone thinks it's natural for the daughter-in-law to do the cleaning and laundry. The in-laws don't even clean their own room. On my days off, chores pile up as if they've been saving them just for me. Sometimes, I wonder if they're deliberately creating tasks for me. Louis is 68 and Marie is 65, but they're incredibly energetic and talkative. They seem more vigorous than me, so I wonder why they can't do the housework. Well, it's good that they're healthy. It would be much harder if they needed care. That's true, but listen, if it ever gets too much, come back home. You always have a place to return to here. Don't feel like you have to endure everything. If you want to escape, you don't have to suffer in silence. Mom, but you're also going through a lot, aren't you? Please don't overdo it either. Having Mom to listen to my complaints helps me keep going. But right now, I have another worry. My father, Sam, is ill and in the hospital. His condition doesn't seem to be improving. My parents are a close couple, and Mom visits him almost daily. I try to visit as much as I can, but between work and chores at my in-laws, it's hard. When I finally manage to visit, Dad looks so happy, which reassures me. But each time I see him, he looks thinner, and it pains me. Mom must be feeling the same way. Mom, are you resting enough? You look pale. I'm fine, dear. Just make sure to take care of yourself. I know. Mom smiles, but she really looks pale and lacking energy. I'm worried. It must be fatigue from caring for my father. Despite knowing about my father's hospitalization, my husband doesn't visit, and my in-laws act as if it's none of their concern, continuing to give me tasks. I'm not just a submissive daughter-in-law. I push back sometimes, especially with Louis, who often asks for annoying favors. Karen, can you massage my back? I'm tired too, so that's not possible. Why don't you buy a massage machine, or ask Marie or Austin? It's a daughter-in-law's job. I don't think so. Louis is fit enough to play golf and go to jazz bar, so he doesn't need that kind of help. Karen, I'm going to take a shower. Can you wash my back? No, ask Marie. It's no fun having an old lady do it. What sort of fun is he talking about? Since Louis retired the year we got married, it's been like this. When I tell my husband, just wash his back, he unbelievably says, as if I haven't even washed my own father's back since becoming an adult. Louis is just an old man who's technically a relative. To be honest, it even feels creepy. 3 years into the marriage, despite what I thought was fate, I'm dealing with in-laws who dump chores on me, a husband who doesn't help, and no signs of improvement. My own family is ill, and he doesn't even seem concerned. Maybe it's time for me to go back home and take care of my dad with Mom. My husband then says, I've got a business trip for a week starting this weekend. Really? Don't contact me unless it's an emergency. It's embarrassing to get calls from my wife all the time. Understood. I wouldn't contact him unnecessarily anyway. I'm also working. I'm not that free, and I've never called him at work before. 2 days after my husband left for his trip, on a Monday, I get a call from Mom while at work. She has never called me at work before. I immediately think something's happened to Dad and answer in a panic. Karen, Sam's condition has suddenly worsened. Mom's voice, crying on the other end, echoes in my ears. My legs start to tremble. I'm coming right away, Mom. I tell my boss, who says, go now. I rush to the hospital by taxi, but I'm met with a cruel reality. Mom's not in Dad's hospital room. Aw, Mrs. Miller, you've just arrived. Where's Mom? I ask, to which the nurse looks down, visibly uncomfortable. Well, my heart pounds. Where is my mother? She passed away. What? For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what I was told. I had rushed to the hospital after receiving a call from Mom about my father's critical condition. But now, they were saying Mom had passed away. It didn't make any sense. This way, please. The nurse led me to another room with just one bed, dimly lit. Someone was lying there. But it couldn't be Mom. Yet, as I approached with trembling legs, the face I saw was unmistakably my mother's. Silent, motionless, Mom was there. How could this? The nurse explained that after calling me, Mom had returned to my father's room. A while later, they found her collapsed over the bed, still holding my father's hand. Already lifeless. Perhaps a heart attack. As the nurse spoke, another nurse appeared. Mrs. Miller, your father. At the same moment I returned to my father's room, he passed away. No way! No way! I felt as if all strength had drained from my body. I couldn't understand what had just happened. Both my parents gone, just like that. It was too surreal to believe. I stood there, stunned, for what felt like an eternity. I need to tell Austin. In a daze, I remembered to contact Austin. Shaking, I took out my phone and called him. As the phone rang, the reality of my parents' death hit me, and I couldn't stop the tears. Hello? Austin? What? I'm at work right now. But it's an emergency. My dad and Mom have. What? They're gone. I managed to say through my sobs. Both of them are gone. Both of them? How? An accident? No, but I don't know what to do. Despite my obvious distress, Austin's response was cold and detached. Didn't you forget what I said before my trip? What? I'm on a business trip. Don't call me unless it's a real emergency. For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what Austin had said. It was probably because his response was so far from what I had expected. I thought I had misheard, but the shock made my tears recede. What did you just say? I told you not to call unless it's an emergency. My parents just died. Isn't that an emergency? If they were about to die, maybe. But what's the point now? That's not an emergency. What are you talking about? You're coming home, right? Why? It's too late. I'm busy. Goodbye. Austin hung up, and no matter how many times I tried, he didn't answer again. Then, I called Marie. Marie, my parents passed away. Oh, I thought it was just your father who was sick. Yes, but both of them. Well, isn't that nice? They were such a loving couple. Better for them to go together. What? You know, they say loving couples go to heaven together. They must be happy. How can you say that? Well, you'll be busy now with the wake and funeral. But it's good you can do it all at once. Louis and I won't be attending. What? We don't want to risk our health. Living people's health is more important, you know. In that moment, I realized the saying like father, like son was true. But it brought me back to reality. I informed my supervisor about my parents' passing. Unlike Austin or my in-laws, my superior, though a stranger, showed genuine concern. He even helped me arrange the funeral at the church. Without him, I would have been completely lost. Despite Austin's words, I thought he would return for the funeral, but he never did. Thanks to my supervisor, colleagues, friends, and relatives, I was able to say goodbye to my parents. And the real sorrow hit me after the funeral, when I returned to my parents' house and faced their photographs alone. I never imagined they would both pass away so suddenly. I couldn't believe that. This is like a bad dream. I'll wake up to the same routine as before. I talked to their photos. This can't be true. Dad, Mom. It's not fair to leave me alone like this. I held their pictures and cried like a child. After crying, I realized the harsh reality. Austin, who didn't bother to show up, and in-laws who didn't even attend the funeral, I had no family left to support me. Anger towards Austin began to build up. How could a husband not rush to his wife's side at such a time? Saying such things during work, that's not normal. I was prepared for what was to come. 5 days after the funeral, 3 days later than planned, Austin returned, acting as if nothing had happened. I couldn't understand how he could be so indifferent. So, your parents' funeral is over, huh? Of course, what do you think? Well, I extended my trip by 3 days to avoid the funeral hassle. Must have been fun for you. It's work, not fun. But you're lucky now, no need to worry about your parents' old age. Any insurance money coming in? Austin's face had a smile. He seemed almost inhuman. I wondered if he was an alien, unable to understand human feelings or words. Are you serious? Yeah, how much of that money do I get? What? Of course, right? A wife's money belongs to her husband. I felt tears coming again, wondering why I married such a man. When I stayed silent, Austin looked around the room. He finally seemed to notice the change in the house. What? The house seems so tidy. I cleaned it up. Like you did with your parents? His insensitivity made my fists clench. How far can this person test one's patience? How could he not offer a single word of comfort to his grieving wife? But he was clueless about reality. It was time for me to make him understand. I took a deep breath and looked up at Austin. I'm going on a long business trip. Take good care of Louis and Marie. What? Austin seemed confused, looking around the house, still not grasping what I meant. Where are Mom and Dad? Did they go shopping? You just realized they're not here? Where did they go? To the hospital. They hurt their backs. While I was away for my parents' funeral, my in-laws tried to move a very heavy piece of furniture from my room to theirs, and ended up with lower back strains. When I returned, they were in agony, unable to move, having gone without food or water for 2 days, unable to even go to the bathroom. I wondered if this was some kind of divine retribution. I called an ambulance, but didn't accompany them, explaining we weren't related. Emergency vehicles don't allow non-relatives to ride along. I gave the paramedics Austin's number, but knowing him, he probably didn't answer unknown calls. Why didn't you contact me? Well, you didn't come back even when your parents-in-law passed away, so I assumed you wouldn't for a back injury. Don't equate your parents with mine. Your parents are strangers, but mine are family. Oh, I see. That's reassuring. Then you'll take good care of them. What do you mean by take care? If they're immobile for too long at their age, they might end up bedridden. Austin started trembling. That's not true, right? You'll do well taking care of your precious parents. I have an important business trip. Our parents are in trouble, and you're talking about business trip? Are you even my wife? What? I glared at Austin. Which mouth is he speaking with? How dare he, who ignored his own in-law's death, say that to me? But I learned from you that business trips are more important than family emergencies. That's different. He never imagined his own parents in such a situation, especially during his important business trip. If I had been treated well by my in-laws, I might have felt obligated to care for them, but unfortunately, I felt no such inclination. I can't bother with others. Besides, like you said, my parents were family, but yours are strangers to me. Aren't you my wife? And what are you? Weren't you my husband? Even your colleagues were shocked. Colleagues? What are you talking about? Your boss attended the funeral. I had called Austin's company when I couldn't reach him, suspecting something. When I explained that my parents had passed away and I couldn't contact Austin, I learned he wasn't on a business trip but had taken paid leave. Austin lied and went somewhere. Why he lied was clear. He emphasized not to contact him, probably because he was with someone he'd be troubled to be seen with. You were on leave, not a business trip. Where did you go, and with whom? That is, your colleagues were also wondering where you were during my parents' funeral. You'll probably be asked when you return to work. Austin turned pale. Taking leave isn't the problem, but being unreachable in such a crisis is. He'll have a hard time explaining that. Plus, his potentially bedridden in-laws. He probably just woke up to the reality waiting for him after his enjoyable trip. Anyway, you deal with my parents. It's your job as my wife. I've decided to stop being your wife. I'm here to tell you that. And my long trip is not a lie. I don't lie like you. What do you mean stop? I'm divorcing you. I handed him the completed divorce papers. My things are already at my parents' house. Then who will take care of my parents? That would be their son, you. I can't do it. That's none of my concern. Leaving a stunned Austin behind, I returned to my parents' house. I had checked Austin's computer, finding plenty of photos of him with another woman, and evidence of their trip together. I printed everything out, making the divorce process straightforward. I naturally demanded compensation from Austin. His affair and absence from my parents' funeral became widely known at his workplace, leading to criticism from his boss and colleagues. He became uncomfortable at work and eventually resigned. The conflict over the compensation claim and his resignation from work led to his affair partner leaving him. A month later, my former in-laws were discharged from the hospital. They're now homebound, living mostly in bed due to their refusal to do any rehabilitation. They seemed financially stable with their pension and savings, but Austin, unable to find a new job, is only working part-time jobs to barely contribute to the living expenses and care for his parents. He's stuck at home, constantly arguing with them. He called me once, crying, begging me to return, but I refused. My former in-laws also reached out, claiming that Austin's care was inadequate and asking me to return and take over. When I suggested hiring a home health aide with their funds, they refused, wanting to save money without knowing how long they'll need it. Their words, as if expecting me to take care of them cheaply or even for free, made me realize they haven't changed at all. I never want to be involved with them again. I still cry when I think of my kind parents, but I know that constant tears won't let them rest peacefully in heaven. Once I complete the memorial ceremony for my parents, I plan to go on a long-term overseas assignment. I'm ready to move on and give my best, keeping my parents' memories close and living life positively, with a smile.
On a muggy summer evening, I was startled to come across familiar faces in front of my workplace. It was unmistakably my younger sister, Luna, and my husband, Mason. Ever since they ran away together, Mason hadn't shown his face, so this encounter genuinely shocked me. Well, what a coincidence to see you here. Mason, now sporting a completely different hairstyle and wardrobe, greeted me casually. This man had changed so much. I stood firm, glaring at them. I was on the verge of tears, but I refused to show any weakness. Behind his forced smile, Luna peeked her face out. Hey, that defective brat, did she finally break down? With her looks, it must be tough to survive, huh? Was she talking about Rachel? Mason suddenly burst into laughter, his voice echoing loudly. 19 years ago, he abandoned his daughter, and now he was mocking her. His crude laughter made me frown deeply. I questioned their nerves. Anger surged, and I nearly grabbed his collar when, Kathy, sorry to keep you waiting. Rachel appeared behind me, stopping both Mason and Luna in their tracks, their laughter ceasing abruptly. Rachel noticed the two in front of her and let out a small gasp, bowing slightly. Hi, Before Rachel could finish her sentence, the two of them began screaming like maniacs. What's going on? How could someone like you? Why, how and what were those clothes about? Rachel was wearing her company uniform with the logo of the trading firm she worked for, and that uniform symbolized something important. My name is Kathy. I work as a nurse, and this marks my 3rd year at the same hospital. Just like always, I called out the next patient in the outpatient clinic. Mason Smith, please come to the waiting area. The man who stood up was wearing a double mask. Sweat glistened faintly on his forehead. His eyes were watery, and it made his complexion appear paler than it probably was. It was only natural to look unwell at a hospital, but something about him seemed off. Are you all right? You look pale, I asked as he coughed dryly, raising a hand to signal me to stop. I'm fine. He nodded slightly and disappeared into the waiting room. Little did I know, this moment would mark the beginning of my story with Mason. As he visited the hospital a few more times, we started talking more often. What led to our relationship was a character-themed pen I carried in my pocket. That pen you use it too. It's so cute and comforting. Oh, I love this little white bear. There's a collaboration cafe nearby. Want to grab a coffee sometime? I thought, why not, and said yes. To my surprise, our conversations flowed effortlessly, and we shared the same sense of humor. I later found out that Mason was a CEO of a major company and a marathon-running athlete. He had asthma, which he was actively managing. Apparently, the day he first came to the hospital, he just had a cold. On one of our dates, he pulled out the same character pen from his shirt pocket. The contrast made me laugh. He was such an adorable person. I found myself falling in love with him more than I ever expected. You're in love, aren't you? Out of the blue, my mom asked me that during a phone call. She's been living alone, and every day she talks to a picture of my dad, who passed away several years ago. I never mentioned Mason to her. So how did she know? Mom can see right through everything. More importantly, how's Luna doing? I asked, trying to deflect. My younger sister, Luna, left home long ago. Back in high school, she lost her confidence after being teased about her appearance by her classmates. Mom tried to comfort her, saying she shouldn't believe such cruel words, but it didn't help. Since then, she stopped going to school and stayed home for a long time. Eventually, she managed to graduate and moved out when she got a job. After that, there was no contact. I hear she's living in the next town over, but there's a saying, no news is good news. But hearing her voice saying, I'm doing fine, would be so reassuring. A few years later, after that conversation with Mom, I reunited with Luna in an unexpected way. It happened at my wedding with Mason. She was wearing heavy makeup, dressed in designer clothes, and accessorized with flashy jewelry. Until she spoke to me, I didn't even recognize her as my sister. Kathy, long time no see. You still look so plain. Luna, what's with that outfit? What do you mean? It's your wedding, so I splurged. This is all Louis Vuitton. She spun around, showing off her dress and bag, as if to flaunt them. The sugary tone in her voice didn't match the Luna I knew. Could this be called a transformation? What kind of job are you doing now? Do you want to know? Here. Luna playfully winked as she handed me a flyer. It was an advertisement for a nightclub. She explained that after leaving home, she started as a temp worker, but alongside that, she took up a job at a nightclub, which apparently paid much better. Once she started earning thousands of dollars a month, she quit the temp job and began working exclusively at the nightclub. Living honestly is just a waste. Don't you think it's better to enhance your looks and live as a beautiful woman? I've never thought that way. With money, you can spoil yourself with your favorite celebrities, mall review clubs, and buy all these designer items. Her eyes sparkled as she talked. It seemed she wasn't just into designer items, but was also spending money at mall review clubs. I'm no longer the pitiful girl who lacked confidence. Thanks to my favorite people and my regular customers, I found my self-esteem. Her carefree laughter as she sipped her drink left me at a loss for words. After the ceremony, Luna quickly left for her town, saying she had work. It's no wonder Mom worries about her. She's happy about gaining confidence, but is this really okay? It's true her new direction feels questionable. But her newfound brightness and regained confidence aren't bad things either. Mom and I decided to trust Luna and watch over her with a hint of concern. After the wedding, my married life started off smoothly. Mason rarely gets days off since he's the CEO. I also work night shifts frequently, making it hard for us to spend time together. Still, we never complain about it, and the rare shopping trips we share on overlapping days off feel precious. When I tell my coworkers about it, they tease me, saying I'm bragging, and I just laugh it off, saying it's not like that. As the seasons passed, we celebrated our anniversary, and a few months went by. One day, I got a call from my mom. Luna came back home for a visit. She's pregnant now. What? That's wonderful. How far along is she? While I exclaimed with joy, my mom's subdued voice only replied, "Yes, it is, I suppose." That made me curious, so I decided to visit my family right away. It's less than a 10-minute drive, so I was able to see Mom and Luna quickly. This was only my second time seeing Luna since her wedding day. Luna looked completely different from the last time I saw her. Her skin seemed brighter, her teeth straighter, as if she'd had orthodontic work, and her overall impression had changed. Her face, already striking before, now had an almost uncanny perfection. "Luna, is that really you?" I forced out the words, barely believing my own eyes. "Of course it's me, Luna. Did you forget me?" "Gosh, you're so silly." It was clear she'd spent a lot of money on her appearance. I was so stunned by her transformation that I stood frozen at the entrance to the living room. "Kathy, why don't you sit down?" My mom gestured for me to sit next to her, with Luna seated across from us. "So Luna, who's the father of the baby? And where is he now?" "Like I've said a million times, I'm not telling you." "Why won't you tell us? It's important." "Why are you keeping it a secret?" "It's none of your business. This is about me and my baby. So just stay out of it." "Are you planning to have the baby?" Mom asked hesitantly, clearly shaken. Can she raise a child alone without the father? She might not be able to continue working at the nightclub as before. Wouldn't it be better for the father to acknowledge his role? Does the father even know about the situation? Mom fired off a series of questions, but Luna's face tightened with visible irritation. With a deep frown and a dismissive tone, Luna replied, "I'll be fine. The father is a good person, and I've already decided I'll raise this baby on my own." Luna's determination, no matter what we said, left both Mom and me exchanging glances. She'd always been stubborn, and once she made up her mind, it was nearly impossible to change it. I glanced at her belly. She was likely past 22 weeks. At this point, keeping the baby was the only realistic option. "Mom, I know you're worried about Luna, but let's support her." "But Luna's ready to raise her baby." "Right. Of course, I'm going to be an amazing and loving mom. I've already decided that." Luna puffed out her chest with confidence. Despite her concerns, Mom nodded and said, "Luna, I'll respect your decision. Do your best." And with that, the conversation ended for the day. Although it didn't feel like much time had passed, we'd been talking for nearly 3 hours. I hurriedly left my family home and returned to the place I share with Mason. I wanted to hurry home and prepare Mason's favorite dishes. Today was a rare day when we could both enjoy dinner together. That evening, we opened a bottle of wine and sat down to a pleasant dinner, where I began sharing what had happened at my parents' house. By the way, I visited my parents' house today. "Oh, how's Shirley doing?" "She's fine. Mom's doing well too, but my sister, not so much." "Luna." "Yeah, you won't believe it. She's pregnant." She didn't even tell about her partner. To my surprise, Mason didn't react much. He just nodded and replied, "Oh, I see," before downing his glass of wine. His indifferent attitude gave me pause. Was he really listening? Perhaps he was thinking about work while pretending to hear me out. Sometimes he does that, gives vague responses only to forget the conversation later. Still, it wasn't exactly a life-changing revelation. That night, we didn't delve deeper into the topic, and the conversation shifted to something else. Luna's belly grew steadily, and with no complications in her prenatal chick hips, she reached 30 weeks. Preparing for the birth, Luna reluctantly removed her gel nails. Of course, I was complaining. I just want to stay a cute mom. Convincing her that she could redo them after the baby was born took some effort. Finally, the due date arrived, and after what felt like an eternity, the baby was born safely. A beautiful baby girl. But then I noticed it. Mom, too, looked at me in shock. The baby only had 3 fingers on each hand. The prenatal exams hadn't revealed this, and neither the doctors nor Luna had expected it. Despite the surprise, the baby was otherwise perfectly healthy. They named her Rachel. She was a cheerful little thing, always laughing, drinking milk heartily, crying loudly, and napping peacefully. However, Luna was visibly shaken by Rachel's hands. "This can't be happening. I've worked so hard. What is this?" She panicked, unable to accept Rachel. "Is this my fault? Am I defective? And that's why Rachel's fingers are like this?" Every day, she blamed herself, spiraling into despair. Since I was busy with work, I couldn't visit Luna and Rachel often, but Mom, who was always with them, kept me updated during our calls. The baby is healthy, and that's all that matters. But Luna seems overly focused on appearances. With Luna unable to cope, Mom took on the responsibility of caring for Rachel. On my days off, I pitched in whenever I could. To my surprise, Mason also helped with Rachel. For someone who claimed to have no interest in kids, he became quite involved with her. Maybe seeing her in person made her irresistible. Even as outsiders, we were drawn to Rachel's charm. Yet Luna, her own mother, remained distant. As time passed and Rachel's features grew more defined, Luna's aversion to her daughter's hands only deepened. "I don't want this kid. She's not even mine." She spoke sulkily. She glared at Rachel with disdain and let out a loud, exaggerated scoff. It was hardly the kind of behavior one would expect from a mother. When I tried to admonish her for it, Mason interjected with a sympathetic tone, "Or Luna. She's still struggling with it. Just because she's a mother doesn't mean she can accept everything so easily, right?" After several incidents like this, I began to feel suspicious. Since when did the two of them grow so close? It's been almost 5 years since I started helping care for Rachel. She's been thriving in kindergarten, making friends, and generally doing well. Whenever my mother sends me pictures of Rachel, my heart feels warm and full. I've been continuing my life of working as a nurse while visiting Rachel regularly. It's a busy life, but a fulfilling one. Mason's business has also been doing well, perhaps because of his increasing meetings and trips. He seems to be paying more attention to his appearance lately. He started buying stylish sneakers and even wearing light cologne. Honestly, he's become more fashionable than he was when we first got married, which makes me happy. He's also brought homeroom fragrances and other items I didn't even know we needed. One bright summer day, Rachel turned 5 years old. Luna, as usual, remained indifferent, leaving her daughter's care to my mother while she went out to enjoy herself. She wasn't around that day either, so my mother and I celebrated Rachel's birthday together. As we were eating the birthday cake, Rachel suddenly looked down at her hands. "Why does I only have 3 fingers?" Her quiet question felt like a punch to my chest. It wasn't surprising she had started to notice. Being in kindergarten, she naturally became aware of how she was different from other kids. The moment I had been dreading had finally arrived. My mother and I both turned our eyes to Rachel. "Rachel, the reason you have 3 hands is..." I took a deep breath and began to explain slowly, making sure my words were simple and clear. It wasn't because Rachel had done anything wrong. Her hands were special. Being born with a difference in the shape of her hands might take time for her to understand fully, but I had been preparing for this moment, hoping she would come to accept herself. "Grandma and I love you so much, Rachel, and we love your hands too. They're very special." Rachel stared at her hands for a few moments before looking up. "I loves my hands too," and smiling softly. It might take time, but I hoped she could embrace her uniqueness and find joy in her life. The following week, it happened to be my day off when Luna asked me to watch Rachel. "I just want to catch up with some friends." She left casually, fully made up, like she was heading out for a fun outing. My mother also had plans that day and said she would return by early afternoon. As promised, she came back around the time Rachel was napping. But Luna didn't return, even by evening. My mother, exasperated, said it was typical of her. "I have work tomorrow, so I'll head home now. See you later, Rachel." Even as Rachel cried and begged me to stay, I waved goodbye, my heart heavy as I walked out the door. Has Mason already come home? I went back home with a little hope, but of course, he wasn't there yet. This happens so often that I didn't let it bother me. I made dinner for 2 and ate alone. I thought, he'll surely be back tomorrow. We'd say good morning to each other like always, and talk about trivial things. But when morning came, he still hadn't returned. What's going on? Could something have happened? Worried, I called him in a panic, and he answered right away. The first thing he did was apologize. "Kathy, I'm so sorry. I don't plan on coming back." "What? What do you mean?" Just as I was about to demand an explanation, I heard Luna's voice in the background. "Why is my husband with my sister? I've been keeping this from you, but I've been in a relationship with Luna." "What?" His words left me in utter confusion. Mason explained that not long after our marriage, Luna came to him for help with money. She said she couldn't make ends meet, and he lent her money. She asked me not to tell you, and I couldn't refuse my sister-in-law's request. It was supposed to be just once, but it turned into repeated loans. Eventually, Mason fell for Luna, and they even started a physical relationship. When I heard that, I felt the blood drain from my body. And then came the most shocking revelation. He claimed to be Rachel's father. I was too stunned to speak, but had one lingering question. "Wait a second. Then why did you leave her behind? You and Luna both. If he's her biological father, shouldn't he have taken her with him? Didn't they think about how Rachel would feel, abandoned?" I accused him of being heartless as a parent. "I know, but Luna is struggling to accept Rachel, especially because of her fingers. That's no excuse. I want to free her from that pain. Only I can do it. I feel bad for Rachel, but there was no other way." Honestly, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What kind of father abandons his daughter while acting like some righteous hero? Luna changed me. She encouraged me to dress better, and people started complimenting me. It made me feel good. He sounded as if he were basking in his self-image, and I rolled my eyes. "It's all thanks to her. Now it's my turn to help her." He was oblivious to how far he'd strayed from decency. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen. Then he hung up without another word. Wait, why? The emotions I had been holding back crumbled once the call ended. I sat down in the locker room at work, unable to move. and my worried colleagues urged me to go home early. Sadness doesn't even begin to describe it. It felt like a part of me had been torn away. I went straight to my parents' house and told my mom about Mason and Luna eloping, but I couldn't explain through my sobs. Tears poured out like a broken dam, and my mother cried with me. Did I cry a lifetime's worth of tears that day? Then I noticed Rachel sitting beside me. She's the same as me, abandoned just like me. I held her close and, in that moment, decided I would raise her myself. After making up my mind, I worked tirelessly. Perhaps, deep down, I just wanted to forget about those two. Before I knew it, 19 years had passed since that shocking incident. Rachel graduated from college and is now working energetically at a trading company. Although she was hired through a disability employment program, her bright and unique personality has made her popular within her department. I was surprised when her company turned out to be located right next to the hospital where I work. We even celebrated together, excited about how close our workplaces were. The days I spend with Rachel and my mother are now my irreplaceable happiness. With such thoughts in my mind, I finished my shift and stepped out of the hospital. In the humid summer twilight, I was startled to encounter some familiar faces outside the hospital. It was, unmistakably, Luna and Mason. Ever since those two ran away together, Mason had never shown up at this hospital again, so I was taken aback to see them here. Well, what a coincidence to run into you here. Mason, whose hairstyle, clothes, and everything else had changed since before, spoke to me casually. He really has changed. I stood firm and glared at them. Yes, it's been a while. Haven't seen you around. Have you been doing well? I was on the verge of tears, but I held back, refusing to show any weakness. Just here for an asthma checkup. Haha. With a forced laugh, Mason spoke, while Luna peeked out from behind him. Hey, that defective brat, is she broken yet? She looked at me with a spiteful smile and laughed loudly. With that appearance, life must be so hard for her, right? Could she possibly be talking about Rachel? At that moment, Mason burst out laughing loudly. The vulgar way he laughed made me frown. To abandon a child and then insult her, it was beyond comprehension. I doubted their nerve. Furious, I nearly grabbed them by their collars. And then, it happened. Kathy, sorry to keep you waiting. Rachel appeared behind me, causing both Mason and Luna to freeze in shock and stop laughing. Rachel realized who the two people standing before her were and let out a small gasp, bowing slightly. Hello, Before Rachel could finish her words, the two of them began shouting hysterically, demanding to know why and how. Rachel was wearing a uniform with her company's logo on it, and it was clear that the uniform belonged to an employee athlete on a corporate disability swimming team. What's going on? How could someone like you? I immediately stepped in front of Rachel and answered, Don't say such rude things. She has worked hard to face her challenges, and she's become the person she is today because of her determination. Luna glared at Rachel with a resentful look. Don't act so high and mighty. She's probably not even that good. Rachel has won national championships and is expected to compete in the Paralympics. Don't belittle her abilities. A Paralympic athlete. I can't believe she had such talent. Their faces clearly showed disbelief, but what I couldn't believe was their reaction. Mason, being a marathon runner himself, should find nothing surprising about his child's achievements. What's the matter? When I asked Luna, she turned pale and walked away briskly, looking frustrated. Mason, visibly flustered, quickly followed after her, disappearing somewhere. I was left with a lingering unease, trying to make sense of the meaning behind Luna's words. Kathy, those people. Rachel, shaken by the unexpected reunion, tugged at the hem of my shirt. Her 3 fingertips were trembling. I pulled her into a warm hug, and then held her hand tightly. "It's okay. Let's go home." I tried to smile, but I wasn't sure what kind of expression I was actually making. That night, Rachel spoke less than usual, and went to bed early after taking a quick bath, even if she didn't say it aloud. The shock was evident, but what bothers me the most is Luna's reaction. Honestly, I always thought Rachel didn't resemble her father much, despite the common saying that daughters often take after their dads. She does have a bit of Luna's stubbornness, but Rachel is more adaptable compared to her aunt. To uncover the truth, I decided to hire a private investigator. After consulting with my mother, we agreed to look into Luna's past relationships without telling Rachel. No matter what answers come to light, I promised myself to accept them. For about a week, I waited for the results, with my mother keeping a close eye on the mailbox to make sure Rachel wouldn't see anything. One day, after coming home from a night shift, my mother quietly handed me an envelope. "It's okay." Rachel didn't see it. I felt a pang of guilt, as though I was doing something wrong, but I quickly opened the envelope. As I read through the contents and examined the various pieces of evidence, I was left stunned. Collapsing to the floor, my mother rushed over in alarm. "What's wrong? What did it say?" "It's just as I suspected. Rachel's father isn't Mason." "No way. Then who is her father?" I pointed to one man in the photo from the report. "Luna's ex-boyfriend. He's successful now with his own business, but back then, he worked as a host at a male review club." It was shocking to learn Luna had been so infatuated with someone from such a place, and had also been involved with him on that level. "Really? This is unbelievable." My mother covered her face, as the weight of the truth hit her. In all the years she raised Rachel, I'd never seen her shed a tear, but now they were flowing freely. A heavy, sorrowful atmosphere seemed to envelop us. "I'll tell Rachel about this myself." But before that, I decided to meet this ex-boyfriend. Among the documents, there were details about his office. Surprisingly, he had launched an IT startup, so on my day off, I visited his office. The young entrepreneur was dressed in a black shirt and slacks, exuding the air of a CEO. With a serious expression, he motioned for me to sit down. Facing him, I brought up Luna, who had been his client over 20 years ago. I thought he might not remember, but his face visibly paled as I spoke. It seemed he did recall. After several seconds of silence, he sighed and muttered his confession. "Yes, I'm the one who got her pregnant." He explained that Luna had been a regular client who spent lavishly from her days as a temp worker. After she left the company, she started using after-hours services, eventually leading to a one-night stand. The pregnancy was discovered around the 5th week. Of course, it wasn't something he wanted, so he prepared an abortion consent form, and they both signed it. It seems there was a lot of trouble before the signing. After that, Luna never showed her face at his shop again. But it's strange. Luna broke the promise and gave birth to Rachel. She must have fallen deeply in love with the young CEO. Determined to have his child, she used my ex-husband, Mason, for Luna, manipulating Mason, who couldn't stand up for himself. Must have been effortless. Though it's just speculation, I couldn't help but hold my head in my hands as I pieced it together. Despite feeling it wasn't my place, I told the young CEO about Rachel. He deserved to know at least. At first, he was furious, cursing Luna under his breath. But now, Rachel is thriving as an adult. With that, he sighed and agreed to accept Rachel. He expressed gratitude for raising her. He even apologized for wanting an abortion back then and offered to help in any way he could. His unexpected reaction left me startled. I had braced myself for rejection. "Thank you. If Rachel ever visits, please welcome her warmly." As I was leaving, he handed me a bottle of expensive-looking wine as a gift for Rachel. Perhaps it was his way of showing consideration. That evening, I revealed the truth to Rachel. She was surprised, but seemed relieved in some way. "Honestly, I always felt like Mason and I didn't really look alike." She said she'd sensed it since she was little. "Thank you for telling me the truth, Kathy." Her smile, as though a weight had been lifted, brought me peace as well. We then opened the wine from the young CEO and toasted to finally uncovering the truth. Rachel, who had always been a heavy drinker since college, was still as strong as ever with alcohol. She must have inherited that trait from the young CEO. As we drank, we chatted about the young CEO's impression, glimpses of his personality, and the atmosphere of his office, letting the night drift away. The next day, as I was leaving the hospital after work, I ran into Mason and Looney again. Meeting them in front of my workplace was the last thing I wanted. "Oh, Kathy, thank you for the other day," Luna said in a fake, distant tone that grated on my nerves. As I gave a half-hearted reply, Rachel arrived. It was unbelievable that the four of us ended up in the same place again. I never wanted Rachel to have much interaction with Mason or Luna. As expected, they began mocking Rachel's appearance. From the shape of her fingers to her height, leg length, and face, it was like they were nitpicking at a child's level. I finally reached my limit. "Stop it, Luna," I shouted sharply. "Don't you remember how it felt to be teased about your appearance?" Luna was stunned into silence. She muttered something under her breath, but I couldn't make it out. I went on to reveal everything the private investigator had uncovered. Rachel's true father, the circumstances back then, even the abortion consent form. The most shocked person was Mason, and understandably so. He had always believed Rachel was his daughter. "That's a lie. You're trying to confuse me with such nonsense," he exclaimed in disbelief, looking to Luna for an explanation. However, Luna's expression stiffened, and she pressed her lips into a tight line, looking visibly uncomfortable. Seeing her demeanor, Mason realized everything and began trembling with anger. "Did you lie to me?" he demanded an answer as he grabbed her shoulders. Luna, as if resigning herself, loosened her lips into an eerie smile. "Yes. Did it really take you this long to figure it out? I'm glad you're such a clueless man." "What? You and that child don't even look alike." "Not one bit." Realizing he'd been deceived, Mason was utterly stunned. Luna brushed his hands off and sneered at him disdainfully. "Why would someone like me ever be interested in a guy who's below average in looks like you?" "Below average? What are you even saying? I taught you everything: cologne, shoes, fashion, all of it, to mold you into a man worthy of me." As Luna boasted about her so-called efforts, I retorted, "That was a pretty selfish thing to do, wasn't it? Well, you were rich. That made you worth my time." Her laughter echoed, reminding me of a wicked witch. Hearing this, Mason dropped his shoulders, his head hanging in despair. "Luna, let's end this. I can't be with you anymore." "What? Wait a minute. You don't mean that? You're not really going to leave me? Goodbye." With that, he walked away. I understood his shock upon learning the truth, but I wasn't kind enough to feel sorry for him. Watching Mason's retreating figure, I couldn't bring myself to pity him. In fact, I felt he deserved it. Meanwhile, Luna chewed her nails as she watched Mason leave. Fine, I already found someone way better than him. What? Could it be that she had another man? But to my surprise, Her passionate gaze was directed not at another man, but at Rachel. Rachel, you're the only one I need. Let's live together, starting right now, please. Luna's sudden shift in attitude left both Rachel and me speechless. You have a bright future ahead of you as a Paralympic athlete. I'll be there to walk that glittering path with you. After all the insults she had hurled earlier, what was she even talking about? I was about to interject when Rachel, with an expressionless face, spoke firmly. What? No, absolutely not. Why, I'm offering you this amazing opportunity. I am Kathy's child. I can't see you as a mother. You're too selfish. Rachel's clear and resolute response earned my silent applause. Are you mocking me? You defective little thing. She began spitting out a string of insults. She had thought that having a child with a male review club host would guarantee good looks. Instead, she had a child without fingers. Good looks change everything. The way others treat you is entirely different. You can't survive without beauty. After spewing her tirade, Luna stood there, panting, but Rachel remained unfazed, responding coldly. People like you, who judge me by my hands, have always existed. But even more importantly, she turned to me and smiled. Kathy and Grandma accepted me and loved me. On my 5th birthday, they told me they loved my hands. I widened my eyes in surprise. She remembered something from so long ago. Appearance doesn't matter. What truly counts is how you accept and treat someone, their heart and actions. She looked straight into Luna's eyes as she said this. Luna was shaken by her words and attitude. After a brief silence, tears began to stream down her face as she started to regret what she had done, not accepting her daughter's appearance, hurting her with cruel words, unmindful of those around her. She sobbed and said, "I'm sorry." It had been nearly a year since the conflict with Luna. It was late summer. I heard that Luna eventually broke up with Mason. She no longer spent money recklessly, and now lived a modest life in a small apartment. What had changed her? Later, she told her mother that it was simply for her daughter's sake. Since that tearful, regretful day, Luna had finally begun to accept Rachel and wanted to support her. She worked diligently as a part-timer and started saving money for Rachel's future. Meanwhile, I continued living at home with Rachel and my mother. We spent our nights enjoying drinks together, venting about work, and reminiscing. The three of us shared very happy days. Then, out of the blue, Mason sent me a message after his breakup with Luna. It was just one sentence. "Can we meet for a bit?" Wondering what it could be about, I agreed to meet him, only to find that he wanted to reconcile. I truly regret everything. Can't we rebuild our relationship somehow? Absolutely not. Was he still so naive? Holding back the urge to say so, I shook my head. When you left, I was devastated and heartbroken. If it weren't for Rachel, I wouldn't have recovered. She is my everything now. I then pulled a piece of paper from my bag. "Let's divorce." Mason's face fell in despair as he pulled out that character-themed pen from his pocket and signed the divorce agreement. This was a secret I hadn't yet shared with my mother or Rachel. It was something I intended to take to my grave. One sunny Sunday, Rachel was competing in a 50 meters backstroke swimming event. If she performed well, she would secure a spot in the Paralympics. My mother and I sat in the stands, anxiously cheering her on. "She'll be fine. She's worked so hard for this." I told myself this as I watched a final race. The swimmers took their positions in the pool. A tense moment, then the short signal. In an instant, the swimmers surged forward with all their might. My mother and I shouted encouragement with all our strength. "Go, Rachel. Reach for it. The sound of water splashing mingled with the cheers of the crowd. One by one, the swimmers reached the finish, and their times were displayed. In those fleeting seconds, Rachel broke her personal record and claimed a resounding first place. She had won, securing her ticket to the Paralympics. We did it. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. My mother and I hugged tightly, our eyes fixed on Rachel. From the pool side, she spotted us and waved enthusiastically. I won. Even though her voice didn't reach us, we could tell what she was saying from her lips. My mother and I waved back just as energetically, mouthing, "Congratulations." On the way home that day, the three of us celebrated with a meal at a fancy restaurant. Looking at Rachel's remarkable figure, I feel as if I might be dreaming. You were so tiny back then. It's amazing to see how much you've grown. I gesture with my thumb and index finger to show a small size. I'm not that small. She laughs. I'm truly overjoyed about today. Congratulations, Rachel. It's all thanks to you too. Thank you. Seeing how hard she worked, today's competition felt incredibly special to me. Overcome with emotion, I secretly let her tears slip, ensuring neither of them could see. Appearance doesn't matter. Rachel is determined to share that message with the world. It's a message only she can deliver, having achieved success without focusing on looks. Watching Rachel face forward, striving towards her goals, fills me with pride. Rachel, thank you for being part of our lives. I held her tightly, my heart overflowing with warmth.
Could you move out of the way? You're in my way. Wait a minute. With that, my stepdaughter Susan kicked me as I was crouched down, cleaning the hallway. I lost my balance and fell on my bottom. This happened every day, and she always chose moments when my husband Matty was away to harass me. Hey, why did you marry my dad? What? You must be in it for the money. He makes quite a bit, doesn't he? That's not true at all. That's definitely not true. I didn't even know what he did for a living or his income until right before we got married. But whatever. It doesn't matter because you'll be out of here soon enough. What are you planning? I heard the front door open and Maddie came home. You're home early today? Yeah, I have another business trip lined up. It'll be for a week. When are you leaving? It's not for a while yet. I felt an unsettling gaze from behind me, making my skin crawl. Even though there was still time before my husband's trip, I ended up breaking my leg at the worst possible time. I managed to get discharged from the hospital, but that was just the beginning of the nightmare. Then Matty left for his trip. Susan had been waiting eagerly for this moment. I'm going on a trip, so give me some money. What? I don't have any money for you. Don't lie. I know you have it. She opened the third drawer in the closet and started rummaging through it. See? I knew it. I'll take this for my trip. She found the $10,000 I had saved for emergencies. Wait! I was discharged, but I still needed crutches. I managed to stand up and tried to chase after her. She grabbed my crutch and smashed it against the wall until it broke in two. Why would you do that? We don't need a fake like you. Just try not to die or something. And with that, she left me in the second-floor room and went on her trip, leaving me alone. I couldn't take it anymore. A voice inside me whispered, telling me to get revenge. 7 days later, Susan came back and seemed to sense something was wrong as she hurriedly ran up to the second floor. Thus began my revenge. I am Rose, and I'm 45 years old this year. I'm remarried and living with my husband Matty and stepdaughter Susan. When I first got married, I thought we would have a happy life together. I'm sure anyone would have thought the same. Now, I find myself thinking more about when I first met Maddie. How did it come to this? We got married a year ago, but before that, we were a shopkeeper and a customer. I had just gotten divorced and honestly had almost no will to live. At that time, I was running a small cafe that I had opened with my ex-husband by myself. Please cheer up. Easier said than done. Maddie was a regular at my shop. And I got divorced too, you know. Really? But didn't you say you were working things out? Yeah, but I never thought she was cheating on me. She seemed so nice, though. I vaguely remembered her face because she had come to the shop with him before. With 2 people, no less. I almost collapsed in shock. That's just unbelievable. We comforted each other by sharing our troubles. We seemed to get along well, and soon we started meeting outside the shop. At first, it was just for meals, but then we started going on trips on the weekends. By the way, you have a daughter, right? Is she okay with this? She's in high school now, so she's fine. But still, she's a girl. Oh, that's right. You didn't have any kids, did you, Rose? No, I didn't. I thought it would be rude to pry any further into someone else's family, so I never brought it up. Although there was no explicit confession, we had spent almost a year together, so we were practically a couple. Well, I wasn't too concerned about defining it that strictly. Then, one day. Hey, we've been together for a while now, right? Yeah. And we share similar values, don't we? I mean, I think our ways of thinking are quite alike. That might be true. So, I think we're compatible. I think so too. That's why I believe we should be together more. Wait a minute. What are you trying to say? Will you marry me? Marry you. Is it a no? It's not that. I couldn't answer right away. I couldn't stop thinking about my ex-husband. My divorce was due to emotional and physical abuse. And when he realized I might press charges, he left without a trace, leaving behind the divorce papers. Of course, I didn't think Maddie was capable of anything like that. I want to be with you forever, Rose. I feel at home with you. And I won't ask anything from you. Maddie continued to passionately explain how much I meant to him. I've never been pursued so intensely before. Are you okay? Sorry. I got too excited. Maddie's breathing had become heavy. Seeing him like that, I found it oddly endearing. About my answer, if it's okay with you. Really? That's great. But my worries didn't end there. I had never met Maddie's daughter. That opportunity came soon enough. Let me introduce you properly. This is my daughter, Susan. Nice to meet you. Likewise. I'm Susan. So, Dad has decided to marry this lovely lady, Rose. Is that so? Congratulations. Thanks. Looks like we'll need to move now. The introduction was surprisingly brief. Then, preparations for the move began in earnest. I never asked before, but what do you do for work? Come to think of it, I never mentioned it. I'm an interpreter. An interpreter? I never would have guessed. I know, right? Maddie speaks 5 languages fluently. I might have to travel sometimes, which could be inconvenient. That's fine. Thanks. I appreciate it. The move went smoothly, and our life as a family of 3 began. Susan, who had been quiet at first, started to open up little by little. Rose, Mom, do you mind if I call you that? You don't have to force yourself. Call me whatever feels comfortable. Thank you. So, why did you decide to marry Dad? Because he passionately proposed for hours? Really? Dad did that? From what I heard, Maddie was serious and didn't joke much at home. However, the Maddie I knew was full of humor. As we grew closer, Susan started college. But then, her behavior began to change. Susan, about your father's upcoming business trip. She used to respond normally, but now. Could you please not talk to me? What happened? You weren't like this before. Huh? Do you seriously not get it? It didn't take long to understand Susan's true nature. I'm leaving for the trip. I'll be back the day after tomorrow. Got it. Take care. See you. It was the first time Susan and I were alone together. Ever since her sudden change in attitude, I had found it difficult to interact with her. Ever since starting college, things haven't been going smoothly for Susan. I'm not sure why. Susan was the first to confront me. Hey, don't get so full of yourself, okay? I'm not trying to. Oh, really? Anyone can see it from how Dad always talks about you. That doesn't mean I'm getting full of myself. It's your smug attitude that pisses me off. What's your goal? Cozying up to Dad? What are you even talking about? Susan kept complaining nonstop. Listening to her, I realized one thing. She really likes Maddie. Are you jealous, maybe? There was a brief moment of silence. What? Jealous of you? Don't be ridiculous, I'm not a kid anymore. At the time, I thought I'd hit the nail on the head. But later, I would regret saying that. Susan locked herself in her room and wouldn't come out. Even knocking on the door didn't get a response. The next day, she said, I'm going out with my friends, can I have some money? Money? Didn't Dad give you some? It's not enough. Then let's talk about it when you get back. Susan scratched her head and banged on the table. Did you not hear me? I said I'm going out with my friends. Just give me the money already. Knowing she wouldn't give up, I handed her some money. Will this be enough? Only $100? Aren't your store profits good? Can't you give me more? This is all I can give. Do you want me to tell Dad? Looking frustrated, Susan stormed out. I let out a sigh. How did things get this way? When Maddie returned from his business trip, Susan acted as if nothing had happened. How was it with you two? This was your first time alone, right? As I tried to answer, Susan interrupted. It was fine. We got along well, didn't we, Mom? She flashed me a bright smile. Yes, that's right. Good. I was a bit worried, but it sounds like everything went well. Dad, you worry too much. Oh, by the way, Rose, I got you a souvenir. A souvenir? Yes, here it is. It was a bottle of the limited edition essential oil I had wanted. Thank you. Isn't this a limited edition? I just happened to find it. At that moment, I felt Susan's angry stare. Maybe she was boiling with rage inside. What about Susan? Did you get her anything? Oh, right. I almost forgot. Here you go, Susan. The bag was noticeably bigger than mine. Susan's eyes sparkled as she saw it. Thanks, Dad. But when she looked inside, her eyes went dull. Didn't you say you liked it before? That's why I got it. Thanks. I'm happy. Her words didn't match her expression. Sorry, I'm pretty tired. I'm going to bed. Okay. Good night. As soon as Maddie went to the bedroom, Susan threw her gift on the floor. What are you doing? Why did you get something expensive? and I got this childish stuffed toy. Susan's gift was a large stuffed toy of a popular character among young people. Why don't we switch? What? Just give it to me. Stop it. Susan tried to snatch the bottle of essential oil from my hand. Dad's going to wake up. Then just give it to me. We wrestled for a while, but I couldn't match the strength of a teenager. The bottle slipped from my hand and fell to the floor. Being fragile, it shattered, spilling the oil. This is your fault for not giving it to me sooner. Susan shifted all the blame onto me and retreated to her room. I gathered the shattered pieces of the fallen bottle. Thankfully, I managed to save a small amount of the oil and carefully placed it back into the box. I could smell the lavender filling the living room. This wasn't how I wanted to experience its scent. I kept scrubbing the floor over and over again. The next morning, Maddie noticed the scent too. Did you use it already? Yeah, but maybe I used too much. No, I think it's fine. I like the smell too. Then Susan walked into the living room. Good morning, Susan. How do you like the scent? It's nice. Do you have classes today? Yeah, I do. Are you enjoying your classes? They're okay, I guess. Although she looked annoyed when she woke up, Susan started to smile while talking with Maddie. Soon it became time to go to the store. I should get going. Right, it's that time already. I'll come with you. Just give me a moment. Susan started to get irritated because their conversation was interrupted. Her frustration was directed at me. I could sense it even without looking at her face. All right, let's go. Yeah. Susan, don't be late. We arrived at the store and immediately began preparations. Thankfully, we had a lot of customers today. This was all thanks to Maddie's advice and financial support. I initially refused, but he insisted it was for both our benefit. We closed the store at 7 p.m., and while I was preparing to close the store, I encountered an unexpected person. Long time no see, Rose. I turned around instantly, recognizing the familiar voice. Why are you here? This is my store too, remember? It's mine now. Leave. I've changed. I want to be with you again. I remarried. I can't be with you. Even if I weren't married, I wouldn't want to be with you. Feeling the situation escalating, I pushed Nicholas, my ex-husband, away and tried to leave the store. But he grabbed my arm and pulled me back. I can't forget about you. Nicholas began to run his tongue along my neck. I felt disgusted, my skin crawling. Then I heard the sound of a camera shutter. I couldn't see the person, but they quickly ran off. I took advantage of the distraction to push Nicholas away and escape. Don't ever come here again. I'll call the police. All right, all right. He left. But my heart was still pounding. I never expected him to show up here. I closed the store and went home immediately. I'm back. No one responded. Maddie had mentioned he would be late. Susan wasn't back from school yet either. I sat down and started thinking about what to do next. I needed to figure out how to handle Nicholas. As I was deep in thought, someone walked into the living room. I looked up and saw Susan standing there. A slight smile on her face. Susan. Can't believe you were doing that behind Dad's back. What do you mean? It's too late to deny it now. Susan showed me her phone screen. It was a photo from when Nicholas was bothering me at the store. So that shadow was you, Susan. This is solid proof of your affair. If I show this to Dad, you're done. You're misunderstanding something. Making excuses now? It's not an excuse. The man in the photo isn't a lover. Then who is he? Explain it. That man is. I could hear your voices outside. What's going on? Just then, Maddie came back home. Hey, listen to this. This unfaithful woman was cheating at the store. Cheating? Look at this. She showed Maddie the photo too. See? Just like I said. This is. Susan was struggling to hold back her laughter. But then, are you okay? Yeah. Did anything else happen to you? No. When I said I'd call the police, he ran away. I see. What are you talking about? Susan, did you really think they were cheating when you saw this photo? Anyone would think so if they see something like this. Isn't this man Rose's ex-husband? I had never shown Nicholas's photos, but Maddie figured it out. Exactly. He wants to get back together with me. We need to come up with a plan. She could be lying. Enough. If you believe that, fine. You'll find out eventually. Later, we consulted the police, who agreed to keep an eye on the store. Susan's photos came in handy at this time. Additionally, we found out that Nicholas was already wanted for fraud. Since that incident, Susan had calmed down. Susan also seemed to change and started being kind to me. It felt like we were back to the early days of her marriage with Maddie. Mom, I have a favor to ask. A favor? There's a friend's birthday coming up. I was wondering if I could use the store. I don't mind. Thanks. She had never relied on me this much before. So I let go of the past and trusted her words completely. I couldn't foresee the deeper darkness ahead. Susan continued to speak kindly to me, asking about the store, my relationship with Maddie, and things she had never asked before. When this continued daily, even I started feeling suspicious. And then, the day arrived. I'll come over after the store closes. All right. Is something happening today? Susan mentioned celebrating a friend's birthday. Right, she did. Just don't overdo it. I won't. I closed the store and waited for Susan and her friends. Susan arrived with 5 people. But everyone except Susan were men. I prepared the drinks they brought, and the party started. Mom, have a drink. It's a special day. I'm fine. I'm not a strong drinker. I had only sipped alcohol occasionally before. I refused, but they insisted, so I drank a glass of beer. It had been years since I last drank, and I felt dizzy for a moment. Come on, it's a celebration. Drink more. I lost count of how many drinks I had and found myself sitting on the couch. Susan was saying something, but I couldn't make it out. Then, I felt my clothes being removed. My vision slowly cleared. What are you doing? The source of the discomfort was my clothes being taken off. They were now trying to remove my skirt. I tried to escape, but I was held down. Susan! Stop this right now. Why? Was it all a lie? Of course. By the way, these guys are interested in people like you. They came right away when I posted online. And the friends you mentioned? All lies. I don't even know their names. I struggled, but they were too strong. They took off my skirt, leaving me in my underwear. Look this way. We're recording this. Do you think you can get away with this? Oh, right. With the sound, it would definitely be discovered, so I'll have to erase it later. Why are you doing this? I'm going to show this to Dad. To get him to divorce you. We don't need you around here. You're too loud. Maybe I should just shut you up. Stop it now. You're really annoying. Just do whatever you want with her. In the end, I was stripped naked and assaulted by the men. From that point, I have no memory. When I came to, the store was empty, and all I felt was a wave of nausea. I quickly put my clothes back on and headed home. You're late. Where's Susan? She's already back. I see. I took a shower, trying to wash away the feeling of those men. There was no way I could tell anyone about this. This was exactly what Susan had planned. After that, I had no choice but to accept whatever Susan did to me. You're in the way. Can you move? Wait a minute. Susan then kicked me as I was crouched down, cleaning the hallway. I lost my balance and fell on my backside. Hey! Why did you marry Dad? What? It was for the money, right? He's pretty well off. That's not true. That's definitely not true. Until we got married, I didn't even know what Maddie's job was or how much he made. But I guess it doesn't matter. You'll be leaving soon anyway. What are you planning? I heard the front door open. Maddie had come home. You're home early today? Yeah, another business trip came up. I'll be gone for a week. When do you leave? Not for a while yet. I felt a nasty gaze on my back, sending chills down my spine. Then I ended up breaking my bones. This was Susan's doing. She had pushed me from behind as I was going down the stairs at home. I tumbled all the way down, and when I looked up, there was Susan, smiling like she was possessed by a demon. I'll call an ambulance for you. But you have to say you fell by yourself. I was taken by ambulance and had to undergo surgery. My left leg was fixed with bolts, and my right ankle was also broken, making it impossible to walk. Are you okay? Don't push yourself too hard. Thank you. I heard you fell down the stairs. That's right. Susan was watching me from behind Maddie. Yeah, I was really stupid. Just take your time to heal. Susan would sometimes visit, pretending to check on me, but she was only there to mock me. How are you feeling? About the same. Just make sure you rest. Not that you can do much while you're unable to walk. I recovered enough to manage walking with crutches. But even after leaving the hospital, I couldn't feel at ease. Soon enough, the day came for Maddie to go on his business trip. I'm sorry to leave you when you're having a hard time, Rose. It's your job. You can't help it. Susan, make sure you help her out. Sure, leave it to me. Maddie left for his trip. Susan had been waiting for this moment. As soon as Maddie was gone. I'm going on a trip. Give me some money. What? I don't have any money for that. Don't lie. I know you do. She opened the third drawer in the closet and rummaged through it. See? I knew it. I'll take this as my travel fund. Susan had found the $10,000 I had saved for emergencies. Wait. How did you know about that? Like I'd tell you. Did you go through my stuff? Who knows? Judging by her expression, it was true. She must have left it there to crush my hopes right in front of me. I managed to stand up and tried to follow Susan. Hurry up and hand it over. She grabbed my crutch, smashing it against the wall repeatedly until it broke in half. What are you doing? No one needs someone fake like you. Just try not to die. With that, she left me alone in the upstairs room. Susan left for a trip, and I was left all alone. I couldn't stand it anymore. A voice inside me whispered for revenge. Without a crutch, it's tough, but I can still stand. I thought about contacting Maddie, but Susan had taken my phone, so I had no way to reach out. However, I wasn't about to give up here. I managed to get downstairs, using an umbrella as a makeshift cane, and asked for help from the neighbors. I borrowed a phone and contacted Maddie. What? Is this true? It might be hard to believe, but yes. I'm coming home right away. Just hold on a bit longer. Maddie returned quickly. What happened? I explained everything Susan had done to me since our marriage. Finally, I mustered the courage to tell him about the incident at the store. Maddie's body trembled either with anger or shock. How could she? I can't forgive this, even if she's my daughter.
Will you help me?
What?
If your anger is real, help me get back at her.
Okay. What do we need to do?
Well, here's the plan.
We prepared and waited for Susan to return. 7 days later, Susan came back, completely unaware. I'm home. Well, of course there's no one to greet me. I wonder how she's doing. Maybe she's really dead. As she started to go upstairs, she noticed something strange.
What is this smell? It's like something's rotten.
Susan opened the bedroom door. She let out a scream that echoed throughout the house. Maddie and I quietly headed towards the bedroom. Peeking inside, we saw something that resembled a person lying on the bed.
What do I do? Dump it somewhere. But then it might be found right away.
Hearing this, Maddie burst into the room. What are you doing there? Dad? Why are you here? Weren't you on a business trip? I got a call that you were up to no good.
Huh? But...
Susan looked at the bed. She genuinely thought I was dead. I'm right here. How are you alive? Then what's this? Oh, that's something Maddie and I set up. But I can't believe you were thinking of dumping it. How far gone are you? While looking for something that resembled a person, we found a love doll. It was quite expensive, but we didn't care about the cost. Is this what happens when you still can't become independent from your parent until your age? Well then, I'll expose the video. Go ahead. Susan took out her phone and showed Maddie the video. But Maddie showed no reaction. So what? Isn't this too much? This should show how crazy she is. You should divorce her. You're the crazy one. I know everything. How? Did she tell you? Yes, and the store has security cameras. Everything was recorded. Everything you instructed them to do. No way! Susan had no escape now. What you did is a crime. Those men too. You've really messed up. I'm tempted to give you the punishment you deserve myself. When Susan saw Maddie's face, she collapsed to the floor, as if her legs had given out. I've already contacted the police. You might get arrested. Give it up. You're not my daughter anymore. You've gone too far this time. After that, we immediately called the police. Susan was taken away in a police car to explain the situation. She looked like her soul had left her body. Are you okay?
I'm fine. But you?
Don't worry. I'm ready for this. According to the police, the men who attacked me were also arrested. Those men all claimed they were provoked by a woman. Messages on Susan's phone confirmed this, which was the decisive evidence. Subsequently, Susan was charged as an accomplice. Did we do the right thing? Of course. You did nothing wrong, Rose. Yeah. Maddie held me gently. There's nothing else that makes me feel as safe. Later, we decided to visit Susan. She looked so thin and frail, like a different person entirely. Dad. You came. Just to see if you're truly sorry. Of course I am. I doubt that. Why is she here? This is all her fault. Maddie sighed deeply. Rose is right. It seems you haven't really changed. That's not true. I have changed. Please, believe me. You're an adult now. From here on, you need to live with the consequences of your actions. Goodbye. Maddie walked out first. Do you understand now? If you hadn't done such things. No, if you had just grown up, maybe this wouldn't have happened. What are you saying? You've been abandoned. So, do your best. Wait a minute. Hey, come back. When was the last time I felt so clear-headed? However, the wounds I've received will remain forever. But Maddie is by my side. And that's all I need. I'll handle the estate distribution. If you don't like it, we can get a divorce. I was left speechless when my husband Brandon said those unbelievable words to me right after we got home from my mom's funeral. It was truly shocking. To add insult to injury, Brandon placed 2 pieces of paper on the table and urged me to give him an answer quickly. Furious, I decided right then and there that I would divorce him. Fine. Brandon, who expected me to meekly agree to his proposal, looked confused when he heard my response. But I ignored him and stormed out of the house we had lived in for years. I headed straight to a certain place, determined to carry out my plan. My name is Hannah, and I'm 30 years old. I work as a bank teller and have been married to Brandon, who is 5 years older than me, for 5 years now. These past 5 years have been a living hell for me. Brandon works at a local bank, but his performance is quite poor. He has no motivation for his job and believes that as long as he meets his quota, it's not a problem. This attitude has made him stand out negatively at work. Anyone who works hard at their job is an idiot. It's smarter to take it easy and do things comfortably. When I went to pick up a very drunk him from a company dinner, I was left speechless seeing him make such pathetic remarks to his subordinates. If you only heard his words, it might sound like he's doing well at his job. But having heard about his work attitude from his colleagues, I was completely appalled. Brandon, who never puts effort into anything, is the type of person who looks down on others. He's all about figuring out how to get through each day with the least amount of effort. And he mocks those who work hard. He has no desire whatsoever to get promoted. His lack of motivation and enthusiasm has led his colleagues and subordinates to ridicule him, saying he's likely to be in a position close to being fired in the future. And I was the one he took his frustrations out on. I worked as a freelance illustrator. Brandon used to have a sense of respect for me, working in a specialized profession. However, his attitude changed drastically around the time we got married and he found out my annual income. When he realized that being an illustrator doesn't bring in much money, he started looking down on me. I can't believe you had the nerve to say you're an illustrator with such a low income. Your artistic skills are no better than an amateur hobbyist. When we were dating, he used to praise my artwork, but ever since we got married, he's constantly been disparaging it. On days when he had a particularly rough time at work, it would be even worse. He would sigh as soon as he saw my face, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Must be nice for you, being able to work so easily. Meanwhile, I have to deal with my annoying boss complaining at me every day. Why don't you get a job that actually contributes to our income? Hearing those spiteful comments over and over again, I slowly started losing confidence in my art. But what kept me going were my customers who needed and wanted my artwork. Some would tell me, "I gave it to my husband as a birthday present and he was so happy." Others would choose my art as gifts for their children. Even though Brandon would constantly make snide remarks, thanks to my customers who wanted my artwork month after month, I'm still able to continue this job to this day. I often worked in the living room of my home. The living room had great natural light, and when I opened the windows, a pleasant breeze would flow in. This house that my mom bought for me was designed in a way that made it easy for me to focus on my art, and painting in the living room felt particularly wonderful. Just breathing in the outside air and gazing at the scenery through the window would sometimes give me great ideas. However, as if to taint my sanctuary, Brandon started hanging out in the living room at some point. "Hey, can't you see that I'm working? You might have the day off, but I'm painting a commissioned piece. If you're going to make snide comments, can you please leave? I can't concentrate." For some reason, he would always come to the living room when I was working. When I observed him to see if he had something to say, it was usually just to complain about work or make snide remarks about me. I've had enough and I wish he would stop interfering with my work. When I expressed my true feelings, he grinned as if mocking me. "Is that any way to talk to your husband who has the day off? Who do you think is supporting our lifestyle?" Even though I don't make that much money, he always uses the fact that my income is lower than his to threaten me like this. I think this started when I made the mistake of having him as a client and opening a bank account for him. He found out how much I earn and have in savings, and his treatment of me completely changed from before we got married. "I thought you'd be living a more affluent lifestyle, but it turns out your mom was the successful one and you're a total failure. Your mom must have been so sad, thinking she could pass the company on to her daughter only to end up having to entrust it to someone else because you turned out to be so unreliable." Using the fact that my income is lower than his, he would constantly ridicule and make snide remarks about me. I couldn't stand him. But he's right, I am currently making a living doing what I love. If I wanted to repay my mom, I should have taken over the company. However, after discussing it with my mom, I chose not to go down that path. "You should do what you want, dear. I have no intention of making you walk that outdated path of having to do the job your parents decided for you. Do what you want so that you can also pursue what you love. I want to support you in that." Relying on those words from my mom, I forged ahead on my current path. But the more I tried to convey those feelings to him, the more it turned into ugly arguments that drained my energy. Realizing how foolish that was, from that day on, I stopped responding to him. I let his words go in one ear and out the other, letting him say whatever he wanted. Through years of dealing with him, I learned that the easiest thing for my mental well-being was to ignore his nonsense as the words of a pitiful person. When he stopped getting responses from me, he seemed to lose interest and would click his tongue and return to his room. Since it was just words, I became defiant, thinking it wasn't a problem if I didn't engage with him. Those were my days of ignoring his remarks, until a sudden event changed everything. My mom, who had been in a care facility, passed away. My mom was the CEO of a major automobile manufacturer with over 7,000 employees. At the time, it was said to be the most popular car maker in the country, and there wasn't a single person in the industry who didn't know my mom's name. Even with her stature, my mom resigned as CEO when I was 28, thinking ahead. She had wanted to pass the torch to me, but when she found out I was focused on my art, she entrusted the company to my best friend Emily. Emily and I have been best friends since we were little. She lived nearby and we were as close as family. My mom trusted her too. However, Brandon doesn't know this fact. Emily had asked me not to tell Brandon that we're best friends. I was torn about whether to tell you since it's a story from our student days. But after hearing about you recently, I thought it would be better to let you know. That's what Emily said before telling me about Brandon during his student days. Brandon and Emily went to the same high school, but they were in different classes and only knew each other's names. Apparently, Brandon was a student with bad behavior who stood out in a negative way. You know how there's always one in every class? The type of idiot who enjoys disrupting the lessons and teasing the teachers. That's Brandon for you. I was in a different class, so I never saw it firsthand. But I heard a lot about it from friends. She made sure to visit our home at times when she wouldn't run into him. Since she also got married and changed her last name, even when Brandon saw her at our wedding, he didn't seem to realize that she was his classmate from high school. Thanks to that, even now, he hasn't noticed my relationship with her. I've told him that I have a close female best friend, but he's probably not interested in anything about me besides money. He would just say, "Do what you want," and leave it at that, never asking about her. I heard rumors back then that he was obsessed with money. Some people were making a fuss about how he never paid back money they lent him. So I was wondering if you'd be okay if he was still like that now, but he works as a bank teller and covers your living expenses, right? I figured there was no need to say anything then, so I kept quiet. But to this day, I still only have that kind of negative impression of him. That's why I asked you to keep quiet about me. I don't want him pestering me for money if you carelessly mention me. Seeing Emily smile wryly as she spoke, I let out a sigh. Before we got married, I never sensed that side of him at all. On the contrary, he seemed like a sincere, upstanding young man that even my parents would approve of. That was my first impression of him. Brandon and I met when he came as a customer to an art exhibition I was participating in. At the time, I was feeling stuck with my art and losing confidence. I was spending my days painting while agonizing over whether I should continue. Amidst that painful time, Brandon stared at a painting I had made for hours. You've been looking at that painting for a while now, right? While other paintings were garnering interest and attention from customers, he was captivated for hours by a painting that no one else paid any attention to. His behavior made me curious, and I found myself calling out to him. "I'm sorry, was it no good?" "No, not at all. I was just wondering why I can't stop looking at this painting." Brandon has no artistic sense. But I think it's precisely because he lacks that sense that he said what he did next. I don't get it. To be honest, I have zero interest in artistic stuff, but for some reason, I can't take my eyes off this painting. Even when my friend who invited me here told me it was time to go, I couldn't move from this spot. That's how drawn in I am by this painting. I'm sure the person who painted this must have felt pain and anguish, repainting it over and over. I don't know why, but ever since that thought occurred to me, I haven't been able to move. I don't know the first thing about art, so I must sound ridiculous right now. As Brandon scratched the back of his head with a wry smile, I was completely captivated by him. I felt incredibly saved by those words from him, someone who knew nothing about art. To have someone who understood my anguish and saw through it. Realizing there was nothing that could make me happier, before I knew it, I had revealed to him that I was the artist. This sparked the start of my interactions with him. Even Brandon, who had no interest in art, would come visit every time I said I was submitting a painting to an exhibition. "Would it be okay if I visited your studio next time? I'd love to see you painting." I was so happy that he was taking an interest in me. At the same time, I also became interested in him and invited him to my home. And then, he confessed his feelings to me. "I want to keep watching you painting freely by my side, just the way you like." I had never met a man who would say something like that to me before. Genuinely happy, I accepted his confession and we started dating. I thought for sure we would have a blissful time together. My dad and mom, who were still alive at the time, were overjoyed to learn that I had a boyfriend. My mom was so elated that she even reported it to her friends. "You were always such a passionate girl when it came to art, never even having a boyfriend. Nothing could make me happier than knowing you've found someone to be happy with." That's right. And I'm in this state. If there's someone who will look after you, I can pass on with peace of mind. At the time, my dad had cancer and had received a terminal diagnosis. Even so, thanks to his determination to at least see my wedding, I was able to safely show him my wedding dress on my big day. Perhaps reassured after seeing that, my dad passed away after the wedding ceremony ended. As if following after my dad, my mom's health also declined, and she entered a care facility when I was 31. There were no issues with her mind, but she didn't have the physical strength to live on her own. After entering the facility, my mom never regained her vigor. And finally, the other day, "I can finally go to where your dad is," she said, leaving behind her last words before passing away. I was shrouded in grief, unable to focus on painting for a while. That's when Brandon, for some reason, was drinking alcohol in high spirits. Finally. "Now you'll be getting that old hag's inheritance, right? It's been a long time coming. I was starting to get tired of playing the role of your good husband." Drunk or not, I couldn't believe the words coming out of his mouth. Shocked by his words, I asked him to repeat what he just said. "What are you saying? Are you in your right mind?" He drank a considerable amount at the wedding venue too, so I thought maybe it was just the drunken ramblings of an intoxicated man. But even so, the words he just said were unforgivable. As I frowned and asked him to repeat himself, Brandon grinned mockingly. "Of course. If I don't suck up to your parents, I might not get any inheritance. Isn't my name written in the will? Surely at least a little bit must be left to me, right? Who has it? The lawyer?" Anger welled up inside me as he laughed. My parents just passed away and I'm emotionally drained, yet what is this man saying? Talking about money at a time like this? I felt utter despair at his unbelievable insensitivity. "Stop it. Don't talk about that stuff so casually. Can't you tell the difference between what's okay to say and what's not?" I don't usually express my emotions so strongly to Brandon. But this time, I couldn't hold back. Hatred surged within me for Brandon, who had been putting on a good face for my parents all this time for the sake of inheritance, only to show this attitude as soon as they passed away. As I listened to Brandon only thinking about money, what came to mind was the story Emily had told me about his past. I heard rumors back then that he was obsessed with money. So that story from his student days was true after all. The moment I realized that story was definitely true, my feelings for him turned cold in an instant. "Why are you yelling so much? I was enjoying my drink and now you've gone and sobered me up." Brandon's reaction, as if I had ruined the mood, only fueled my irritation. I had put up with things until now because he had always treated my parents well. But if this was all part of his plan from the start, then wasn't his marrying me and pretending to be interested in my art all in Act 2? I started questioning his every action. That's when Brandon did something shocking. The next day, when I went to the living room, he was unusually up early, lying in wait for me. He was completely sober, the alcohol having worn off. When I looked at him suspiciously, wondering if he had something to say, he told me to sit across from him. I did as I was told, sitting on the sofa across from him, staring at him and trying to figure out what this was about. Then Brandon placed a signed divorce application on the table, along with what looked like an affidavit, and abruptly started an unbelievable conversation. "I was drunk yesterday too and couldn't have a proper talk. Let's discuss this properly now that we're sober. Did you have the lawyer confirm the details of the will?" I couldn't comprehend how Brandon could talk about money the day after yesterday. Didn't he remember me telling him to stop? And that remark yesterday calling my mom an old hag. How much does he actually remember and how much was said in the heat of the moment? No, even if he said it in the heat of the moment, I won't forgive him for insulting my mom. I won't let him act like those words were never said. With that thought, I unleashed my fury on him with a fierce attitude. Yesterday, I clearly told you not to bring that up, so how can you talk about it so casually? You called my mom an old hag and you're not even going to apologize for that? Don't get so angry. It's making my head hurt. If you don't like it, I'll apologize. My bad. That good enough? What's with that attitude? My anger only grew at his insincere apology. I continued to take him to task over it for a while after that, but Brandon showed no sign of remorse whatsoever. He just kept giving half-hearted apologies and we couldn't come to a resolution. Realizing this wasn't going anywhere, I stopped questioning him and brought the conversation back to the inheritance. I haven't contacted anyone or heard anything. Besides, we still need to sort through her belongings. How could I possibly think about the inheritance before that's even done? Mom just passed away. I see. Well then, sign this affidavit for me. What? When I looked over the affidavit he handed me, I was astonished by its contents. What is this? It stated that I would swear to leave the entire distribution of the inheritance to Brandon and not interfere at all. Moreover, it clearly noted that breaking this would result in divorce. I was at a loss for words at the unbelievable contents. I'll handle dividing up the inheritance. If you don't like it, we're getting a divorce. The inheritance that becomes yours is mine too, right? So it's my prerogative what I do with your stuff. What's yours is mine, and married couples share assets, don't they? I'm saying I'll take care of it for you since you can't do the work yourself. You should be grateful. The moment I heard those words, my patience reached its limit. I got up with my face downcast, and without signing the affidavit, I went to my room and started hurriedly preparing to leave the house. Hey, wait. What are you doing? Sign it. If you don't, we're getting divorced, you hear me? Yes. I hear you. That's why I'm preparing to leave the house now. What? He must have assumed I would quietly sign it. Seeing him rendered speechless by my opposing response, I almost felt like laughing in spite of myself. Hey, what nonsense are you spouting? Divorce? That means we're splitting up, you know? You understand what that means? I just said I understand. I'm sorting my things so don't get in my way. The years of pent-up frustration and discontent had nearly reached my breaking point when I saw him yesterday. And this contract was the final straw. There's no way I wouldn't divorce him over this. Leaving a flabbergasted him behind, I hurriedly started packing. He tried to stop me from the side, but I wouldn't even look at him. Desperately floundering for some way to stop me, he probably didn't have the composure to calmly assess the situation. Making sure he didn't notice, I took the divorce papers and left the house I had lived in for many years. Well then, thank you for everything until now. Wait a minute, hold on. Ignoring his voice calling out to stop me, I got into the pickup car I had arranged for in advance and escaped to my parents' home. And to carry out a certain plan, I headed to the bank where Brandon worked. Oh, you're Brandon's wife, right? Brandon had been taking time off every day to sort through the estate. And now, the wife of someone like that had suddenly shown up at his workplace. It was only natural for them to look surprised. Thank you for your hard work. Is the branch manager here? I have something I'd like to discuss, so I'd appreciate it if you could call for them. I called out the branch manager and told them something with a big smile on my face. Hannah, what brings you here? Branch manager, I have something I need to talk to you about. The bank started buzzing with the sudden report of our divorce. Ignoring the shocked reactions around me, I continued speaking. I want to close the account with $3 million in it. And please close the personal account I had made as well, right now. I don't think I'll be needing your services here anymore. What? The branch manager couldn't hide his surprise at the sudden request. Another employee who immediately realized this was a huge problem must have called for Brandon. Still in his loungewear with bedhead, he rushed to the bank in a fluster. Hey, what are you doing making decisions on your own? Now, calm down. For now, please come to the reception room. You too, Ms. The branch manager led Brandon and me to the reception room. The remaining employees were looking at Brandon with agitation, and I could hear some of them talking about him in hushed voices. Perhaps feeling flustered by the unpleasant attention he was drawing, he glared at me. However, I wouldn't meet his gaze at all. Maintaining my resolute demeanor, I silently followed after the branch manager. Eventually, we were shown to the reception room. Brandon and I sat next to each other as the branch manager, who had no idea what was going on, asked about the situation. What do you mean you want to close your accounts? Exactly what I said. I want you to close all the accounts I have with you. Hey, what the hell? Closing accounts? I didn't hear anything about this. Well, of course he didn't. I had come to tell the branch manager about closing the accounts without saying a single word to Brandon. As I looked at him in exasperation, thinking what an obvious thing to say, the branch manager explained the situation to him once more. She said she's divorcing you and wants to close all the accounts she has with us. What's going on, Brandon? I never heard anything about you getting divorced. No, I don't accept this divorce either, and we're not actually divorced yet. Hannah is just saying whatever she wants. By the time I thought, how dense can he be? I had already burst out laughing before I could hold it back. Seeing that, Brandon glared at me as if to say, What the hell? What are you talking about? We are divorced. I signed my part of the divorce papers that were in the living room and submitted them. You! What? As expected, he hadn't noticed that I took the divorce papers from the living room. Upon learning that the divorce papers had been accepted, he let out a shocked cry. The branch manager also looked confused, having no idea what was going on, and stared at us. You signed them first, didn't you? Why are you so surprised? Didn't you take action because you wanted to divorce me? I also thought I couldn't go on with someone like you, so the timing was perfect. Our interests align, and the divorce papers have been accepted, so naturally there's no division of assets. The house is still in my name too, so please move out within 3 days. Otherwise, I'll sue you for forced eviction or unlawful entry. Wait a minute. What do you mean you went ahead and finished the divorce proceedings on your own? Anyone can see that was just in the heat of the moment, or rather, you only used that to get me to sign that affidavit. Affidavit? Even though a fight had started, the branch manager was watching over us. He probably thought if he intervened carelessly, he might get dragged into it. But perhaps out of surprise the moment the affidavit was mentioned, he blurted out, What do you mean? And stared at Brandon. However, there's no way Brandon could honestly talk about that. Even if he was incompetent at his job, he made up for it with his good interpersonal skills. If he talked about this, even that lone strong point of his would be given up on, and his social credibility would plummet. He might even become unable to stay at his workplace. Noticing that Brandon was keeping quiet out of that fear, I gleefully shared the details with the branch manager. Actually, my mom passed away, but he shoved an affidavit in my face with threatening content saying if I didn't let him handle the inheritance distribution, he'd divorce me. That was the last straw for me, so I divorced him. What? No, that's not it. I just got a little greedy. I didn't actually intend to make her do that. It was supposed to be a joke. He desperately tried to make excuses to mislead the branch manager, but there's no way those would reach his ears. The branch manager gave him, whose actions deviated from human morality, a disappointed look. Noticing that gaze, he was at a loss for words, racking his brain on how to deal with this disadvantageous situation. But there's no way I would let him do that. To corner Brandon even further, I said, "Did you really think I would laugh off your joke? The night before, you insulted my mom, calling her an old hag, and you even declared that you were only being nice to my parents for the inheritance. Did you forget about that?" I gave him a nasty grin as if to provoke him, revealing facts that lowered his value as a person. Upon hearing that, the branch manager stared at him with contempt. Flustered by that gaze, he became visibly agitated, his face turning pale. I dealt him an even bigger blow. "So with that being said, please close all the accounts I had made with Brandon as the account holder, as well as the account holding the $3 million I had saved up while single." $3 million? He probably thought there would be no damage if it was just his own accounts. But the moment he heard there was an account with $3 million, Brandon cried out in surprise. "How the hell do you have that much money? There's no way you could make that much with those old-fashioned paintings, right?" "It's simple. Painting isn't my real job." "What do you mean painting isn't your real job?" In response to the perplexed him, I let out a deep sigh. Then, I took out a business card from my bag and handed it to him. "This is my real job. Painting was just a hobby, like a side gig." "CEO, you took over that old hag's company?" Brandon reflexively covered his mouth after calling my mom an old hag right in front of the branch manager. But it was too late. The branch manager glared at Brandon, who lacked any decency, with a stern expression. "I thought Emily was the president of that company. Why are you the CEO?" "How do you know about her?" "I never once mentioned anything about the company, right? I also kept quiet about knowing her, so how did you find out?" Beads of sweat suddenly formed on Brandon's forehead as if he was flustered. To him, I revealed the shocking truth I had heard from Emily. "The answer is simple. It's because you were trying to entice Emily for her money, right? Emily called me just now and told me you contacted her on social media, bringing up my mom." Saying that, I played a recording of the phone call that I had made with her permission. It contained details and evidence of the day he contacted her, including messages that sounded like he was trying to lure her into an affair. The branch manager grimaced at the unbelievable revelation, and Brandon turned deathly pale. He was completely at a loss for words. "You didn't know Emily and I were friends. You probably just thought she was an acquaintance who had taken over my mom's company, nothing more than that, right? Well, too bad for you. Emily and I have been best friends since we were little. The reason I kept quiet about being the CEO was because I had a feeling something like this would happen." Learning the truth, Brandon was unable to retort. "You see, she is what you call a salaried manager. The company belongs to me, the owner and CEO. Even if you tried to entice Emily without doing your research, your position is already finished." As I laughed mockingly at him, the branch manager who had been listening cleared his throat and spoke while glaring at Brandon. "Brandon, I now have a clear understanding of how you behave at home. It's extremely disappointing. Thanks to you, our bank's sales will likely drop significantly." "Branch manager, please wait. I'll talk it over with her now and make sure to resolve this. So please, would you just stop it? I have nothing to discuss with you, and my decision to close my accounts remains unchanged. The moment I said that, the branch manager turned to me. In that case, and he proposed an idea. If I fire Brandon from our bank, will you hold off on closing your accounts? What? Brandon had an unbelieving expression at the branch manager's shocking statement. I also hadn't expected him to suggest that, so I turned my gaze to the manager, showing interest in his proposal. We'd prefer not to have you close your accounts. If we had to choose between continuing your contract and continuing to employ him, it's clear that we value the contract with our customer more. He's notorious for poor performance at work too, and we've been having trouble figuring out what to do with him. We have no need for an employee who can't be trusted by society or as a person, so if you'll agree to continue your contract with us, we'll fire him. That's a violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act. I'll sue you for that. Hearing those words, the branch manager started exposing his bad reputation one after another. Go ahead and try if you think you can. In exchange, we'll also sue you for all the despicable acts you've committed against our female employees and your high-handed treatment of your subordinates. Don't make the mistake of thinking I know nothing. If you're going to take action, we'll hire a lawyer too and respond accordingly. Realizing that the branch manager and I had noticed every single thing, he completely lost heart and fell silent. He held his head in his hands as if regretting his actions. This wasn't supposed to happen. Why? Ignoring Brandon as he muttered those pathetic words, I directed cold words at him. Actions taken to use others for your own greed will always come back to haunt you. All of this is your own responsibility, so reflect on it and accept your punishment. And so, my long battle with Brandon came to an end. After that, he was fired from the bank and moved out of my house. He clung to me until the very end, crying and begging me to withdraw the divorce, but the moment I shouted that I would call the police, he got scared and fled back to his parents' house. However, I had already spoken to my in-laws beforehand, so Brandon ended up being disowned by them. Of course, there was no way I would let it end there. I consulted a lawyer about the moral harassment I had endured up until now and submitted the evidence I had secretly collected. Through my lawyer, I decided to demand a settlement. Emily also demanded a settlement for his persistent attempts to lure her into an affair and his harassing remarks. Brandon, who had been after my mom's inheritance, had hardly any savings due to his extravagant spending and is now living in poverty. Apparently, he lives in a small, old apartment and works from morning to night to pay off his debts. Having regained a peaceful life, I am now fulfilled in both my work and private life. Hannah seems so energetic lately. Both her paintings and her expression have become brighter. I guess it's thanks to Emily being by my side and supporting me. I'm getting good ideas now and I can't help but enjoy painting. Even I could tell that my painting skills had improved considerably. One of my customers, an antique art dealer, highly praised my work. Thanks to that, the popularity of my paintings grew, and I was eventually able to hold a solo exhibition. Thanks to the company as well, sales steadily increased, and it has now developed into a world-class automobile manufacturer that attracts global attention. In between my painting work, I also support Emily's work at the company, and together we now protect the company my mom left behind. Get in here! Wait a minute! What is this? Don't talk! My father-in-law, Grantley, suddenly dragged me into the closet. I had grabbed my phone in a hurry, and when I looked at the screen, it was 2 a.m. What is going on? Just be quiet! Why am I being shoved into a place like this with him? I have absolutely no idea what's happening. Hey! Grantley! The closet is barely illuminated by the light from my phone. He looked at me and put his finger to his lips.
Shut up.
He had always seemed a bit aloof and reserved since the first time we met. So, I never really knew what he was thinking. Since Cecilia passed away, it seemed to have gotten worse. I had no choice but to follow his instructions silently. "Look outside."
Outside?
He whispered to me. Following his words, I peeked outside through the gap in the closet. It was dark and hard to see.
How long do we have to stay here?
About 8 minutes had passed since we got into the closet. Grantley tapped my shoulder and pointed outside. What I saw was unbelievable.
Who is that?
I couldn't help but speak out. Looking closely, I saw something glimmering in their hand, faintly illuminated by the light. "Run!" My body moved instinctively at his words. I burst out of the closet. I ran out of the room as fast as I could. I called the police right after that. I never imagined something like this would happen. I'm Harlow, a 35-year-old ordinary office worker. 2 years ago, I married my current husband, Keaton.
What? Marriage?
Isn't it about time? Well, maybe, but... There's a party coming up. How about it? A party? I'm not really up for it. Before I married Keaton, I worked as a sales assistant. I didn't have any big goals. I just went back and forth between work and home every day. It's this Friday, so what do you think? If you insist, I'll go. The following Friday, I reluctantly went to the party. That's where I met Keaton.
Tonight might be your lucky night.
Bernadine, who was sitting next to me, whispered that to me. Lucky? Well, you go to these parties every week. So, Harlow, who do you like? Me? I just came to make up the numbers. Don't say that. We're here, so let's enjoy ourselves. Yeah. I guess you're right. I hadn't had a drink in a while, so I got a bit drunk. And then Keaton spoke to me. Harlow, what do you usually do in your free time?
Well, to be honest, I don't really have any hobbies. I mostly just go back and forth between work and home every day. It's embarrassing.
That's a shame. You should enjoy life. No one had ever said that to me before. We exchanged contact information after that. We continued to see each other after the party. Keaton taught me a lot of things I didn't know, being so focused on work all the time. It's been 6 months since we met. Yeah, it has. So, how about we start dating? Yeah. I found myself answering naturally. After that, our relationship progressed smoothly. Then one day, when I visited his house, he had a serious look on his face. Actually, there's something I haven't told you. Something you haven't told me? Yes. According to Keaton, he had lost his previous wife a few years ago. Until now, having little experience with men, I was thrown off by this fact.
So, that's how it is.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. It's okay. Thanks for telling me. Keaton must have sensed the myriad of emotions I was feeling. He was considerate, telling me I didn't have to accept it if I didn't want to. If you're uncomfortable, it's okay. I didn't want to hear any more. Even though Keaton cared about me, the fact remained unchanged. I started to wonder. Is it really okay to keep dating Keaton? Time, however, waits for no one. Days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, nearly a year had passed. What? Why didn't you tell me? It turned out he had a son with his late wife. The boy was living with his parents. I'm sorry. It was hard to bring up. But still, I truly apologize. I was overwhelmed with distrust towards Keaton. If you're okay with it, Would you like to meet him? What? Honestly, I didn't want to meet the boy, but it wasn't his fault. When I first met Keaton's son, Normand, he was just 4 years old. Normand didn't show any hostility towards me, nor was he particularly friendly.
What is this feeling?
Although we met, we couldn't have a proper conversation. On the way back, I realized what felt off. Normand was almost indifferent towards his father, Keaton. It felt like they were strangers. What's wrong? Oh, nothing. I was just wondering if Normand is always like that. Yeah, I guess so. Even Keaton's response felt odd to me. Has it been a while since you last saw him? I've been busy with work. Maybe Keaton didn't fully understand Normand either. It hadn't been long since his real mother passed away, which could also be a factor. We met a few more times after that, but Normand never warmed up to me. He probably was still wary of me. How can I get him to like me? He's probably just nervous. He'll warm up to you eventually. He seemed optimistic, but I felt differently. After all, Normand wasn't even that warm towards Keaton. This made me more determined. Even though Normand was living with Keaton's parents, I felt it was unfair to him. Can we meet Normand again? Sure, I'll let my parents know. Thank you. A week later. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing? I'm sure Normand wanted to see you too. Right? Yeah. Normand still looked a bit sullen. Are you okay? I asked gently. At first, he didn't respond, but I kept talking to him. Eventually, he started to open up. Aren't you two getting along? Really? You think so? Hey, let's go play over there. Go ahead, but I need to talk to you first. Can you go ahead and wait for us? Okay. Normand then went to his room. I'm sorry. No problem. So, when are you two getting married? Married? Weren't you planning to talk about that today? I looked at Keaton. He took a deep breath, seemingly gathering his courage. Will you marry me? Yes. Wow. Congratulations. At first, I was hesitant about getting married because his previous wife had passed away and he had a child. However, now I no longer think about those things. Keaton was delighted to hear my response. This marks the beginning of a new life. I had high hopes for this new chapter, but there was a problem. That problem was Grantley's presence. Come on. It's a joyous occasion, so Grantley, show some more enthusiasm. Are you really okay with this? Huh? You should have something else to say. Sorry about Grantley, he's not very good at expressing himself. But I'm sure he's happy for you, so don't worry. Okay. Later, I would come to realize that Grantley's words were not directed at me. And I would face even bigger problems. Then, Keaton and I went to introduce him to my parents. At first, I thought they wouldn't approve of me marrying a man with a child, but they didn't show any displeasure at all. Finally, you're getting married. Now we can be at ease. Take good care of our daughter. Yes. I will make her happy. With my parents' blessing, I felt excitement for the future. Then, we got married. Initially, I hoped it would be just me, Keaton, and Normand living together. About that, what if we live here? In this house? Is that really okay? It's fine. I glanced at Grantley, but he neither approved nor disapproved. However, I understood what Cecilia was saying. Seeing Normand's attitude towards Keaton made me uneasy. Besides, both of you are working, right? If you live here, we can watch over Normand. That might actually be better. Let's do that. Yeah, I agree. And so, we moved into my in-laws' house. To my delight, they even renovated the house for us. From today, please take care of us. Likewise. Take it easy today. Thank you. We were allowed to use the room that Keaton used to use. It had already been renovated and was spacious. It's so much bigger than it used to be. I can't believe they did all this for us. Really. We have to show our appreciation. While putting away my things in the closet, I found a box in the back. What could this be? Knowing it was wrong, I couldn't help but be curious about what was inside. When I opened the box, I found photos and accessories of Keaton's late wife, Fem. What are you doing? Ah. For a moment, time seemed to stop.
Sorry. But this is.
You found it. I kept it for Normand. I just couldn't throw it away. I understood what he meant. But seeing it made me feel helpless. I thought I had come to terms with it, but deep down, it still bothered me. I'll take care of it later. Okay. Then, 2 weeks after we started living with my in-laws, something happened. Grantley, who had only exchanged minimal greetings with me, started a conversation. Are you getting used to living here? Yes, thanks to everyone, we're very comfortable. I see. Grantley seemed like he had more to say, but walked away after saying that. What was that about? Then, Cecilia spoke to me from behind. I'm sorry. He's always been a bit awkward. But it's not that he dislikes you. Sigh. Even though Cecilia's words were meant to reassure me, I couldn't help but feel that he might actually dislike me. But that wasn't the only issue. One Sunday afternoon, it happened. Sorry. I got called into work. I have to go for a bit. Oh, really? Well, I also have some documents I need to pick up from the office. Maybe I can go with you? Well, okay. Then, suddenly. Don't do it! What? I was stunned by Grantley's sudden outburst. I couldn't even think of how to respond. It'd be sad for Normand to be left alone.
Yes, you're right. Sorry.
I got scolded out of the blue. I understood he was thinking of Normand, but I didn't expect him to be so harsh about it. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going. See you. Hey, wait a minute! Keaton rushed out, almost as if he was escaping. Even though Normand was at home, it was my first time being alone with Grantley, and I felt nervous. At that time, I didn't yet realize his true intentions. After that, Grantley started to encourage me more and more to spend time with Normand. Grantley seems to be harsher with me lately. That's nothing new. Maybe you're just overthinking it? No, he definitely hates me. You're being a pain. I didn't miss him muttering that. What did you just say? Nothing. You definitely said I was a pain. I didn't. This kind of exchange continued for a while. Eventually, fed up with it, Keaton left, claiming he had work to do. What is going on? The kind and gentle Keaton from before our marriage was no longer there. He started to insult me, and his behavior became more and more tyrannical. I hadn't done anything wrong, but it was clear his love for me had faded. Is Keaton late again today? Yes, it seems so. Maybe he's out having fun. That's not true. How can you be sure? I couldn't be certain if he was having fun or not, but Keaton kept saying it was an important time at work, coming home late almost every night. This had been going on for a while now. Sorry, but I have to stay at the office tonight. Again? I can't help it. I know, but you haven't really talked with Normand lately, have you? That's not true. Sorry, I have to get back to work. Take care of things there. Days like this would leave anyone sighing. And that wasn't my only worry. Keaton still isn't coming home regularly? No. Maybe you should have a serious talk with him? You're right. You might regret it later. What do you mean by that? But Grantley didn't answer. Was he telling me to think it through myself? In the end, without getting any more details, Grantley just went to sleep. Then, 3 days later, something happened. My husband came home early for once, but he seemed a bit rushed. Why are you in such a hurry? Oh, just came to grab some clothes. And by the way, I forgot to mention I'll be on a business trip starting tomorrow. A business trip? You never told me that. Didn't I? Well, that's the situation, so take care. By the way, how long will you be away? 3 days and 2 nights. But that's... The day after tomorrow is Norman's birthday. This means we can't even celebrate it. I know work trips are unavoidable, but the day after tomorrow is Norman's birthday. Oh, seems so. He responded as if it didn't concern him. You need to explain this to him yourself then. At that moment, Normand came over to us. Normand, listen. I have to work the day after tomorrow, so we can't celebrate your birthday together. Do you understand? He didn't say anything. So, is there anything you want? You can ask for anything you like. Even when I spoke, Normand kept staring at Keaton without saying a word. Staying silent won't help us understand. Keaton was clearly getting frustrated with Normand's behavior. Hey! Say something. Then, Keaton raised his arm as if to strike Normand. What are you doing? This is discipline. No, it isn't. This is just abuse. I don't have time for this. He's your son. He is. Keaton left without finishing his sentence. I'm sorry. It's okay. All I could do was apologize. Isn't Keaton back? He was here just a moment ago. I see. And he's going on a business trip on Norman's birthday. A business trip, huh? Now Grantley butted in from the side. Is it really a business trip? Grantley, please. It could be something else. He hasn't been coming home much lately. Don't worry about him. Yes. I couldn't understand why Grantley was so hostile, but something even worse had happened. Where's Cecilia? I don't know. You don't know? We later found out that she had been unwell and had been going to the hospital. She had been going on weekdays, so we hadn't noticed. I'll take care of the housework, so Cecilia, please take it easy. But Harlow, you'll have to give up your job too, and it will be a burden. I'm more worried about you. Her presence was significant to me. I balanced work, childcare, and caring for Cecilia's health. After that, Cecilia, who had always been so lively and energetic, suddenly seemed to age. Cecilia, please rest. I'll handle everything. It's okay. Moving around a bit makes me feel better. Your health is more important right now. I see. I'm sorry. I managed because Grantley mainly took care of her. He still treated me coldly. Before I knew it, it had been almost 2 years since we got married. Cecilia had a heart condition, and it had gotten quite severe. She didn't want to be hospitalized because she wanted to spend as much time with her family as possible, I later learned. She didn't want to trouble us, so she kept her suffering to herself. That was so like Cecilia. And then, the unthinkable happened. That morning was particularly cold. Where's Cecilia? She's probably still sleeping. She usually woke up earlier than anyone. I'll go check on her. When I reached the bedroom, Cecilia seemed to be asleep. But as I got closer, I realized she wasn't breathing. I rushed to report to Grantley. Why are you in such a hurry? Cecilia! What? Grantley stood up and immediately headed to the bedroom. Cecilia! Cecilia! He looked back at me and shook his head. No way! I quickly contacted Keaton, who was staying at the office, to come home. I also contacted the hospital, but her death was confirmed as soon as we arrived. That was about 30 minutes later. Mom? Unfortunately, she's... No way! I wanted to believe it was a lie too. Cecilia's death was treated as a seizure. Without time to grieve, preparations for her funeral began. Even at a time like this, you have work? I can't help it. When I tried to stop Keaton from going to work, something fell out of his bag. Something fell. When I picked it up, it was a bank book. And the name written on it was not Keaton's. Thanks. See you. Wait, what is this? It's my friend's. He escaped before I could ask more. But I couldn't dwell on it, as the funeral was the next day. Sorry for making you help with so many things. It's okay. More importantly, is Grantley okay? Yeah, but what about Keaton? He should be here soon. Seriously, that kid. Considering Grantley's feelings, it must be exhausting to worry about his son even at a time like this. Sorry, I'm late. You're not late, but just barely. You really should have helped more. I said I'm sorry. The funeral itself went without issue, but Keaton seemed distracted the whole time. Every day since then has felt more tiring. On this day, I was so sleepy it was hard to stay conscious. And then, I fell asleep without realizing it. Get in here! Hey, what's going on? Don't talk! Grantley suddenly pulled me into the closet. I had grabbed my phone in the rush and saw it was 2 a.m. What is this? Just be quiet. I had no idea why I was being shoved into a closet with Grantley. It made no sense at all. Grantley. The closet was barely lit by the light from my phone. Grantley looked at me and put his finger to his lips. Be quiet? I had so many questions, but I had no choice but to follow his instruction. Look outside. Outside? He whispered to me. I peeked outside through the closet gap as he said. It was dark and hard to see. How long are we supposed to stay here? About 8 minutes had passed since we got into the closet. Grantley tapped my shoulder and pointed outside. Then I saw an unbelievable sight. Who is that? I couldn't help but whisper. In the faint light, I saw something shining in their hand. Run! My body moved instinctively at those words. I jumped out of the closet and dashed out of the room. Then I immediately called the police. Please, come quickly. There's someone with a knife in my house. I managed to explain the situation and waited for the police to arrive. Normand! Calling the police wasn't enough. I had to ensure Normand's safety. I rushed to Normand's side. Harlow? Normand! Wake up! I grabbed Normand and immediately left the house. I was worried about Grantley, but my priority was protecting Normand. However, I couldn't just leave Grantley, who had helped us escape. I'm going to check on Grantley, so please stay here quietly, okay? Yeah. Before that, I called Keaton. What? I'm busy right now. We're in big trouble here too. What? A strange woman suddenly entered our room. A woman? Even over the phone, I could tell his voice was tense. Do you have any idea who she might be?
No. Of course not.
All right. Just hurry and get here. Grantley's life is at stake. Hey, wait! I hung up and headed straight to Grantley. As I approached the bedroom, it was eerily quiet. I peeked into the room and saw Grantley standing, with the strange woman sitting on the floor. Grantley? Oh, Harlow. Is Normand okay? Yes, he's safe. That's good to hear.
And what about her?
It seems she's Keaton's mistress.
Mistress?
Grantley sighed. So it has come to this.
What do you mean?
It seemed like a police car had arrived at our house. Can you explain what happened?
Well,
Let me explain. Grantley said. What he revealed was shocking. As I had heard earlier, the woman before us was Keaton's mistress. Apparently, their relationship had started before our marriage. The mistress wanted to marry Keaton, but he chose me instead. By the way, what's your name?
Fern.
Fern, did Keaton stay overnight at work or go on business trips to see you? Fern slowly nodded. As I listened, I learned that Fern was a junior colleague of Keaton's at work. How could you do this? I questioned further. But how did you find out about this place? Keaton told me about it. I also took the key from him. But when I entered the room, I heard a strange voice. What? I don't really understand, but I heard someone saying stopped.
So it wasn't just my imagination.
What do you mean?
After I helped Harlow escape, I briefly saw Kaylee's face.
Who on earth was Kaylee? No way!
Kaylee was Keaton's previous wife. I hadn't mentioned it before, but she passed away due to illness.
Yes. He neglected Mom.
Normand.
Maybe Normand resented Keaton. He probably saw him as the man who let his mother die. It must have been Kaylee's will that stopped Fern. Another shocking fact came to light from Normand's mouth. And he isn't my real dad. What? I was confused, unable to make sense of anything. Grantley, did you know?
I thought Keaton had told you. I didn't realize you didn't know. I'm sorry.
Then, we heard footsteps rushing up the stairs. What on earth happened? Everyone in the room turned to look at Keaton. What the hell? Fern came here. She took your key. Fern, you wouldn't marry me. So I thought getting rid of her would make things easier. You really messed things up. You have no right to say that. It's all your fault. And I've heard everything from Grantley and Normand. Damn it! In some ways, Fern was also a victim of his manipulations. But even so, I can't forgive her. Normand might have been in danger too. Please, take them both away. Why me? You are responsible for this mess. This has nothing to do with it. Just give it up. Go atone for the sins you've committed. If I do that, Kaylee will hate me too, right? What do you mean? Why don't you figure it out yourself? Thus, Keaton and Fern were taken away by the police. I'm really sorry.
Grantley.
If I had told you sooner, this wouldn't have happened. It's not your fault, Grantley. Can I ask you something? Anything. What was Kaylee like? She was a kind person who put others before herself. I see. But this was just the beginning. Keaton and Fern will get the punishment they deserve. I immediately started preparing for a divorce. I have no choice but to get a divorce. I never imagined that Normand was Fern's child. Grantley, please don't apologize so much. I should have been more careful when we got married. It's not your fault, Grantley. I was the one who couldn't see clearly. On the day I decided to marry Keaton, Grantley asked Keaton if he was sure about me, not the other way around. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know. Yes, well, actually, I asked Grantley to look into something that had been bothering me for a while. It was a mysterious bank book that Keaton had. There was a significant amount of money saved in it. Got it. I'll look into it. If we confront Keaton, he'll have to talk.
Do you think it's okay?
He has no right to refuse now. Thank you. After leaving Keaton's family home, we decided to rent a new place and start over. This is the beginning of a new life. For the sake of young Normand, I decided to work from home. The divorce was finalized and I received compensation. But it wasn't over yet. Later, when Grantley called me to Keaton's family home. It's the money he saved up. It seems Keaton was saving it to live with that woman. It was the bank book that Grantley had investigated for me. But this is for Norman too.
Yes, for the child.
We were able to receive the money that Keaton had saved. It was all thanks to Grantley's efforts. I later heard that Grantley had negotiated terms such as giving up custody of Normand and ignoring the affair.
Even going that far.
It's okay. This is the least I can do. Thank you so much. As for Keaton and the others, they apparently moved far away after losing all their money. If that were all, it would have been fine. But things didn't go smoothly. The violent nature of Fern, Keaton's affair partner, kept him constantly on edge. Well, he brought it all on himself. Life with Normand was more enjoyable than I ever imagined, and it wasn't as challenging as I had feared. I feel like his smile has grown even brighter and more frequent. As a result, our bond has deepened and become much stronger. What do you feel like eating today? Oh, I want to eat with Grantley. Grantley? Okay, I'll give him a call. Yeah. Normand has always adored Grantley since he spent a lot of time away from Keaton. Sorry to bother you with this request out of the blue. No need to apologize. I was just at home with nothing to do. Well then, I'll bring Normand over. I'll be waiting. In the midst of this pleasant atmosphere, a call came from him. What's up? Well, I was just wondering how Normand is doing. You don't need to worry. He's doing great. Are you regretting something now? It's not like that. If you keep talking on the phone, your scary girlfriend might get mad at you. Cut it out! Anyway, don't call again. If something like that happens again, it'll be irreparable. Keaton fell completely silent. That's that, then. Goodbye. Even if our future holds difficulties, I believe we can overcome them. Protecting Normand's smile. My top priority now. And I'm not alone. Shall we go then? Yes. Normand, are you ready? Yes. The three of us are now heading to visit the grave of his biological mother, Kaylee. Today is a perfectly clear and sunny day.